Chapter 3859. Ning Shu wasn't afraid of Old Man Divine Tree. He said, "When you eat too much, you won't be able to move. It's the same for the cubs. I don't think we should feed them too much. Half full is enough. If she really ate so much 3 meals a day, she would probably die of exhaustion." Old Man Divine Tree knew that Ning Shu wanted to slack off, but he couldn't refute him. He was unhappy and said, "I wanted you to comprehend the divine rune, but I'm not happy now. I'm not in the mood, so I won't open the spiritual space." Ning Shu smiled and said, it's okay. There's still a long way to go." This thing wasn't easy to comprehend, but Ning Shu wasn't in a hurry. With the sacred ground, Ning Shu felt that he had a place to stay even if he left the organization. Ordinary void creatures had ways to enter the sacred ground, and their whereabouts were unpredictable. It was probably the safest place in the void. He didn't have to worry about leaving the organization and wandering in the void. When he left the organization, he didn't have to do missions. He had plenty of time to comprehend the divine rune. Now that Old Man Divine Tree was unhappy, Ning Shu didn't insist on comprehending it. Dan Qing was urging Ning Shu to go back again. Ning Shu said goodbye to Fa Tian. Fa Tian stood up and said, "I'll go back with you to see the little mouse sculpture." Ning Shu didn't pay much attention to the little mouse sculpture. He asked, "It can come back to life so quickly? How long has it been? This is too miraculous. It's a godly skill." Fa Tian shook his head. "No, I'll go back and water it." Ning Shu was speechless. The clay sculpture could be watered, so it wouldn't be soaked. Ning Shu didn't comment on things he didn't understand. He asked, "When will it come back to life?" Fa Tian said casually, "I don't know. It'll come back to life when it's time." If it couldn't come back to life, it meant that either his judgment was wrong, or there was a problem with the sculpture technique or steps. In that case, the little mouse was a failed experiment. Since he had failed, he would not waste his time on it. Fa Tian wanted to know if the little mouse would still have the ability to split after it was revived. Returning to the system space, Fa Tian took out a small bottle and evenly poured water on the little mouse sculpture. The water gradually disappeared. It was unknown whether the water was absorbed by the sculpture or evaporated. Ning Shu touched the sculpture and comforted Ifyun. "I feel that the sculpture is still full of life. It should be able to come back to life." Fa Tian, "Not really." What gave Ning Shu the illusion that he and the little mouse were intimate partners? Not really. Besides, little mouse only had Li Wen in his heart. They were just acquaintances. Fa Tian was too lazy to argue. What should be done would be done. "I'm going to the void. You don't have to bring me anything next time." In the future, when those cubs ask you to bring something, just throw the soil they give you directly in their faces. "Don't spoil them," Fa Tian said. Some cubs were more funny. They grabbed a handful of soil from the ground and wanted to exchange it with Ning Shu. Ning Shu told Fa Tian to be careful. Void creatures were strong in single combat and liked to live in groups. Fa Tian was still a baby. Ning Shu went to deal with the Star Stone and changed shifts with Granduncle. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. He was the one who changed shifts last time. Did Granduncle not change shifts while she was on a mission? But he didn't care. He could change shifts whenever he wanted. Granduncle said to Ning Shu, "Come with me to a place later." Ning Shu said indifferently, "I want to deal with the Star Stone." Granduncle, "Someone is coming to change shifts." It didn't matter. She would wait for the person to change shifts. No matter what Granduncle and the others were doing or what they were calling her to do, Ning Shu was very calm. Probably the previous battle had completely dispelled the fear in her heart. In other words, Ning Shu, who had expanded to 100 kilograms, wasn't afraid of death. With the power provided by the peerless martial arts and the will of death, it wouldn't be easy to die in a short time. She really wanted to die. She knelt and begged for death. After a while, the person who changed shifts came. Ning Shu followed behind Granduncle and came to a place. Ning Shu looked at the sea of law that had no waves. It was like a piece of stagnant water. Occasionally, a pitch-black fish jumped out of it. Ning Shu, "So ugly." The fish looked like it was burnt. Ning Shu didn't make a sound and looked at the sea of law. Granduncle didn't make a sound, And she didn't make a sound either. Grand Uncle looked at the calm sea of law and said, "It doesn't have any vitality anymore." Ning Shu raised her eyebrows and said, "It's so pitiful. My condolences." He probably wanted her to donate and let her see the patient's condition. Ning Shu said, "I'm willing to donate my 2 arms to the sea of law." No matter what Grand Uncle's purpose was, she had blocked the way in advance. Grand Uncle, he was speechless for a long time. Ning Shu asked tentatively, "Then add 2 more legs." If she donated it like this, her soul would be very weak. Was she still not satisfied? Sorry, there was nothing I could do. They were here for the vitality. Ning Shu wanted to touch the peerless martial arts on her ears subconsciously, but she resisted. At this time, she couldn't do too much to attract Grand Uncle's attention. Ning Shu didn't want to talk to Grand Uncle, and Grand Uncle didn't seem to be used to chatting with people. There was a suffocating silence between the two. They looked at the pitch-black fish swimming in the sea of law. After a long time, Grand Uncle said, "Chop it." Ning Shu was at a loss. Chop what? What kind of request is this? Does he want me to chop Grand Uncle? Grand Uncle glanced at her coldly. Didn't you say you wanted to donate your limbs? Ning Shu. Ning Shu said indifferently, "Please record my name in the merit book. I'm a donor. Also, treat me better." Is this how you treat donors? I think that since the sea of law is like this, everyone should do their part for the sea of law. Those who meet the requirements, come and donate. Ning Shu cut off her legs and 2 arms, and her soul became even weaker. She said, "I've already donated. Don't ask me to donate again in the future." Her soul was really full of disasters. It was like a balloon, deflated and full, and then deflated. If she didn't do anything today, there would be a big accusation on her head. So many planes and so many creatures might have perished because she didn't donate anything. She had to bear the heavy responsibility of the destruction of the world. She had forgotten her original intention. She was born in a plane, but she had never been willing to do anything for it. Ning Shu didn't need to think to know what she would say. Humans weren't the only ones who were good at this. The organization was also good at it. Everyone wanted to have a good reason to start a war. The party with a good reason would stand at the top of morality. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3860. Since there was a problem with the sea of law, everyone should work together and do what needed to be done. If they wanted her to donate, then she would donate. Since this little thing could shut their mouths and preserve her peerless martial arts, Ning Shu was willing to do it. This was the difference between Grand Uncle and Jingqing. Jingqing only knew how to do what he wanted. He wanted to bite her, but he ended up in a very embarrassing state. Look at Grand Uncle, he did not do it for his own life, but for the sea of law. He made her throw her soul into the sea of law, and she had to be willing to do it. However, the person who benefited indirectly was still Grand Uncle, and she felt that she had used a smaller price to protect something more important. Jingqing did what he wanted and followed his heart too much. Sometimes he could not achieve his goal. Jingqing only bit her head, which caused her to counterattack fiercely. Grand Uncle used a very cold and aloof way to act pitiful. One could not even tell that he was acting pitiful, and he achieved his goal. "I will donate, I will donate, I will donate." And Ning Shu was willing to lose her soul power to do something for the sea of law. It could be said that the sea of law gave birth to the world, and the world gave birth to her. The energy body that she found for the sea of law seemed to be of no use. She had a clear conscience. As for whether Grand Uncle and Jingqing got any benefits, she was too lazy to ask. She only did what she thought should be done. In the future, when the sea of law really collapsed, she would do everything she could. When the sea of law was about to be destroyed, it was something that could not be changed. Moreover, she would leave the organization sooner or later, and it could be considered as the last thing she did for the sea of law. Ning Shu threw her arms and legs into the sea of law, and the new limbs that grew out were very transparent. Ning Shu asked Grand Uncle calmly, "I did not absorb pure soul power. Is there a problem with the sea of law?" After removing the impurities in the soul, Ning Shu absorbed soul power that had not been purified. Grand-uncle did not say anything and looked at the sea of law in a daze. Ning Shu rolled her eyes and turned to leave. The weak Ning Shu ran to the world of reincarnation to find Zhu Jun. She was just short of tears and snot. Zhu Jun looked at Ning Shu's transparent soul and silently handed him a bottle of soul fluid. Her soul force was like a magic trick, always changing back and forth. Ning Shu gave Zhu Jun a thumbs up. He took the soul fluid and gulped it down. Only then did he feel a bit better, and he gave Zhu Jun some more merit. To avoid being unable to start work due to lack of money, Zhu Jun did not accept the merit and said, "There is merit. What else can you do other than give it to me?" Ning Shu, why do I feel like I'm a scumbag who's willing to pay? Ning Shu asked, "If I don't give you money, what can I give you?" Zhu Jun, I want to travel. Ning Shu nodded. Sure. You guys can make the necessary arrangements. You can rest. Zhu Jun, I want to go to the colorful world. Ning Shu, sure, but don't cause any commotion in the world. I'll find you a tool to go to the world. Only then was Zhu Jun happy. All right, I'll wait for you. Ning Shu, did she neglect the needs of her employees? However, the appearance of this golden skeleton was really eye-catching. Also, traveling through worlds too frequently was harmful to the world. Although the harm was relatively small. Ning Shu said, wait a little longer. Wait until the world in my hand forms into a world of living beings. Go and take a look. As for the other worlds, it's better not to go. Now that there was a problem with the Sea of Law, it directly affected the world. 1,000-mile dike could be destroyed by an ant's nest. Perhaps because of Zhu Jun's travel, it would collapse. It was not stable at all. Coincidentally, it would destroy this weak balance. The impact would be huge. Zhu Jun nodded. Alright, we can wait. We can't go to Nine Palace Mountain now. Let's forget about Nine Palace Mountain. Nine Palace Mountain was in a miserable state now. Several worlds had been wiped out. Although there was Zhu Jun's soul fluid, Ning Shu's soul was not in a good state. Looking at the souls walking around him, Ning Shu wanted to grab a soul and eat it. However, she was an ordinary soul after all. She had a burden in her heart. Directly devouring souls was like eating humans. Unlike the little evil demon, who was born at the top of the soul food chain. If Ning Shu ate chicken, duck, and fish, he naturally would not feel any burden. To the little evil demon, the souls in World of Reincarnation were chicken, duck, and fish. He understood the situation in World of Reincarnation from Zhu Jun. There were no problems in World of Reincarnation now. It was just that some souls would riot and devour each other. They wanted to devour more souls to strengthen themselves. No matter where one was, there would be rich and poor, strong and weak. Even if they were all souls, there would be differences in strength. However, facing these skeletons, the souls in World of Reincarnation were very fearful. Especially the skeleton's shining golden merits, which made the souls envious. However, the riot of souls did not affect World of Reincarnation. If the scale was too big, the skeletons would stop it. After understanding World of Reincarnation, Ning Shu went to Nine Palace Mountain and carefully checked the crack. The cracks were sealed with stellar stones, preventing any life force from seeping out. However, even though it was mended after the sheep were lost, it was still a huge blow to the Nine Palace Mountain duo. Ning Shu entered Nine Palace Mountain's second layer and found Earthworm and Yao Nyang. Other than them, there were also a few children beside them. When Yao Nyang saw Ning Shu, she happily called her aunt. Ning Shu did not see Hanshin. He asked, "Where's Hanshin?" The smile on Yao Nyang's face gradually disappeared. She calmly said, "He left." Left? Where did he go? What happened? There must have been a conflict between the two of them. That was why Hanshin had left. Hanshin had vowed to protect Yao Nyang. Even under the pressure of a mountain, he was still able to leave. Clearly, it was not a small matter. Yao Nyang bit her lips and said, "Actually, it's not a big matter. He doesn't agree with me teaching the peerless martial arts to others. But aunt, you told me to teach it to people who need it." Hanshin did not agree. He also knew that peerless martial arts were very powerful. If everyone learned it, they would not have any advantage. The two of them could not convince each other. So, Hanshin directly left. In Hanshin's view, Yao Nyang was courting death. She had taught the peerless martial arts to others, and now there were a few children beside her. Such a situation made Hanshin feel very passive. He could not understand Yao Nyang being so saintly. Although these children were lonely and had no one to rely on, they had always been hungry. They had long since understood the ways of the world. They were forced by life to live. How could they have the innocence and kindness of ordinary children? To view the new chapter of World of Reincarnation, please go to Chapter 3861. These children followed Yao Nyang because she was willing to take care of them and provide them with food and a place to live. That was great, so of course they would cling to her. He felt that giving these children cultivation manuals was already a chance to change their lives. Now that they still wanted to cling to him, it was really annoying. He would definitely raise an ingrate. As for Yao Nyang, she really took Ning Shu's words to heart. These children cultivated peerless martial arts, so she didn't really care about what they ate. The conflict between the two of them was due to the clash of their thoughts. Before Hanshin lived with Yao Nyang and the others, he lived in a sect. He knew all too well about the relationships and conflicts between sections. Given Yao Nyang's personality, there was no way she wouldn't be fooled by them. Don't underestimate them just because they were children. Ning Shu knew that it was mostly his fault. He said, "Why didn't you talk nicely and drive him away?" I wanted to talk to him nicely, but he was already angry. He felt that I shouldn't have spread peerless martial arts around. Later, when these children followed him, he got even angrier and left. Ning Shu looked at the children. These children don't want to leave, right? Yao Nyang felt a headache coming on. Compared to Hanshin, these children were obviously more important. However, she didn't expect him to really leave without looking back. Yao Nyang felt wronged. Ning Shu said, no one was looking after them at first. Now that someone is looking after them, they have to cling on even if they have to. Even if they have to play some tricks, they have to stay. It was for survival. As for how grateful they could be to Yao Nyang, it wasn't certain. If she drove them away, these children would bear a grudge against Yao Nyang. It wasn't easy for them to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but now it was destroyed. As for the peerless martial arts, what the hell was that? Could it change their current situation? Could it let them eat? It couldn't. When survival was a huge problem, everything else had to take a back seat. This thing could make her stronger, but if she didn't eat, she would starve to death. Speaking of which, it was all because of her. Ning Shu didn't expect that something like this would happen because of her. From the looks of it, Yao Nyang's personality was still too naive and adorable. She viewed things too one-sided. He shouldn't have allowed Yao Nyang to do such a thing again, lest she got herself into trouble. Ning Shu turned to Yao Nyang and said, "Let the children go. Give them some traveling expenses and food. Tell them that you're busy and can't take care of them. Give them more traveling expenses and food." Yao Nyang nodded and walked towards the children with the bundle in her hand. The children's faces were filled with apprehension. When they saw Yao Nyang's face, they had a bad premonition. One of them said, "Sister, we will definitely be obedient and won't cause any trouble. Please don't drive us away." "Lady Yao, I haven't even opened my mouth." Yao Nyang took out all the savings and food in her bag and said, "I have other things to do, so I can't take care of you. Take this money. It's enough for you to live for a long time." "We don't want the money. We just want to follow you." "Sister, you're the kindest person." The children begged Yao Nyang. When money ran out, food would run out. Only by following this sister could they always have food to eat. They didn't ask for much. As long as they could fill their stomachs, they wouldn't have to fight for food on the streets. They just wanted to eat the leftovers of others. Yao Nyang was compassionate, but it wasn't easy to take care of these children. One of the older children angrily snatched the bundle from Yao Nyang's hands and said angrily, "I knew it. These people are just hypocrites. How could they really care about beggars like us? Now that they can't pretend anymore, they want to use money to send us away. Hypocrites, hypocrites." The children were especially angry. Yao Nyang's face turned pale, and her body began to wobble. During this period of time, She had not mistreated these children. She had given them food, clothes, and even took care of the children's cultivation of peerless martial arts. She treated them with sincerity. At this moment, the children's angry faces made Yao Nyang feel extremely uncomfortable. She almost burst into tears. She steadied her voice and said emotionlessly, "Just take it that I'm being hypocritical. I was just being kind for a moment. I don't want to care about you anymore. You can leave." Hearing Yao Nyang's words, the children didn't know what to do. They instinctively said those words just now because they wanted to make Yao Nyang feel guilty. It was also because they were sensitive and felt inferior. Seeing Yao Nyang say such words so emotionlessly, the children couldn't bear any more hope. They said hatefully, "Let's go." Grabbing the bundle, they ran away. She gave them food and money, but she didn't even receive the slightest bit of gratitude. Instead, she was filled with resentment. Confusion flashed through Yao Nyang's eyes. Why was it like this? Ning Shu apologized to Yao Nyang. "I'm sorry." She shouldn't have given Yao Nyang such a simple task. If it was Ning Shu who imparted peerless martial arts to others, he definitely wouldn't have done it so perfectly. Yao Nyang's eyes were filled with tears. "Auntie, I don't understand. Why is it like this?" Earthworm anxiously comforted Yao Nyang. "It's those bastards who are cruel and unscrupulous. It's not your fault. It really isn't your fault." Ning Shu pursed his lips and said, "If you give them too much, it's inevitable that they'll want more." This was the principle of giving kindness to those who give them too much. If Yao Nyang just casually tossed a few copper coins into the bowls of these child beggars, they would definitely be very grateful. In their hearts, a few copper coins were enough for them to eat a full meal. If their expectations were low, they would be very grateful. However, Yao Nyang gave them too much, which made these children's appetites grow bigger. Their expectations of Yao Nyang were anchored in a relatively high range. Thus, their expectations of Yao Nyang were set with this as the starting point. If their expectations were lower than this point, Yao Nyang would be faced with resentment, not gratitude. Yao Nyang revealed a bitter smile. "It seems that I was wrong. Hanshin was right." Ning Shu shook his head. "You weren't wrong. There's nothing wrong with doing good deeds. However, there's also a need to pay attention to the rules. When doing good deeds, you need to think more than when doing bad deeds. When doing bad deeds, one only needed to do them. However, when doing good deeds, one needed to think more than just doing them." Yao Nyang paused. "Then I'll go and ask for those things back. Thinking back, if they don't remember my good deeds after taking my things, I might as well feed them to the dogs." Ning Shu didn't have any objections. Whether Yao Nyang wanted them back or treated it as a lesson, it was all up to her. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3862. The more Yao Nyang thought about it, the angrier she got. She said, "I want my things back. Eating, drinking, and going to the toilet required money. Without these things, they would have to suffer. It was too hard to live in the open. There was no need to sacrifice herself to help others." When Yao Nyang was angry, her eyebrows raised, adding a bit of heroic spirit and sharpness. Ning Shu felt that this was quite good. Kindness had to have a sharp edge. Without a sharp edge, kindness was just a weakness that could be bullied by others. Yao Nyang tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and jumped onto the treetops. She quickly chased after the children. Ning Shu glanced at Earthworm next to him. Earthworm was confused by Ning Shu's gaze and asked, "What are you looking at? Did I do something wrong?" Ning Shu sighed. Earthworm was not human. He did not understand the ways of the world. The Yao Nyang he raised was also naive. Knowing the ways of the world but not being sophisticated was the most mature way of thinking. Earthworm was even more flustered by Ning Shu's sigh. What was with that look of disdain? "Why are you sighing? Why are you looking down on me? You left the children to me. Now that there's a problem with the children, you're blaming me. You're just a piece of trash, a piece of trash, a piece of trash." Ning Shu felt guilty. "You're right. It seems that I'm indeed a piece of trash." The children were raised by Earthworm. He did not care much about them. He did not have the right to criticize Earthworm. Ning Shu apologized. Sorry. Earthworm was used to talking back to Ning Shu. Now that Ning Shu really apologized to him, his whole body went numb. He did not know what to do. He snorted and turned his head away, ignoring Ning Shu. After a while, Earthworm spoke to Ning Shu. What do you think we should do with our daughter? I also think that her personality is not good. Being bullied all the time is not a solution. Our daughter? Ning Shu was too lazy to correct his slip of the tongue. He said, it can only be changed slowly. The most important thing is still to see the ability. Don't do kindness that exceeds your capabilities. Otherwise, you'll end up with a body full of complaints and a miserable ending. A while later, Yao Nyang returned with a bundle in her hand. She looked refreshed, and it was comforting to see the fear and heartache on the faces of the children. This in itself was even more comfortable than taking the item back. She smiled and said to Ning Shu and the Earthworm, I'm back, and I've brought back the things. With these things, we don't have to live in the open anymore. Ning Shu nodded. All right, I'll listen to you. Seeing that Yao Nyang didn't seem to be affected by this matter, Earthworm was slightly relieved. The Earthworm would rather let Yao Nyang live according to her own wishes than let her suffer grievances. Some random people shouldn't even dream of making Yao Nyang unhappy. The Earthworm shrank and burrowed into Yao Nyang's waist pocket. Along the way, he said to Yao Nyang, in the future, let's ignore those heartless bastards. Yao Nyang thought for a moment and said, everyone wants to live a good life. They think that I can give them a good life, but now that I can't, they'll be disappointed and angry. Speaking of which, she thought she was smart and overestimated herself. However, she was still very angry that Hanshin left just like that. If you're so capable, don't come back for the rest of your life. The two of them hurried to the town ahead and found an inn. When they walked in, they saw Hanshin sitting on a stool leisurely, sipping wine. He seemed to be waiting for something. Sensing that someone was at the door, he turned around. When he saw Ning Shu, he choked on the wine in his mouth. Hanshin immediately wiped the wine from his mouth and stood up as if he was being punished. He no longer looked like a leisurely expert. Yao Nyang's face lit up when she saw Hanshin. However, she thought of something and immediately put on a stern face, ignoring Hanshin and sitting down at another table. Ning Shu didn't say anything and sat down as well. Hanshin coughed and walked over. Ning Shu cupped his hands and said, Senior, you're here. Ning Shu nodded and asked, Why are you here? Hanshin said, I'm waiting for Yao Nyang here. Something happened earlier, so I waited here. Ning Shu nodded. It's been hard on you. Hanshin sighed in relief and said to Yao Nyang, It's my fault. Lady Yao pouted. All right, I'm the one who's being unreasonable and insensible. Hanshin sat down and asked, Where are the children? Yao Nyang felt guilty. I sent them away. Hanshin raised his eyebrows. His survival instincts prevented him from saying anything and asking anything. After that, the group went to many places and exposed many scams. After a great disaster, people urgently needed someone to rely on. At this time, some people jumped out to swindle money and women. As for teaching peerless martial arts, Ning Shu told Yao Nyang to stop. Yao Nyang wasn't suitable for this job. Hanshin saw that Ning Shu didn't seem to have any intention of teaching peerless martial arts to others. He sighed in relief. If this thing became a street item, it wouldn't be special. Everyone had cultivated Qi Jin, and everyone was so powerful. They had no advantage at all. It was fine to say that he was selfish or narrow-minded. However, this kind of thing couldn't be taught so casually. Ning Shu could understand Hanshin's selfishness. However, Ning Shu wanted more and wanted to see further. He wanted to increase the power of faith for peerless martial arts. However, the power of faith wasn't something that could be obtained easily. People who cultivated peerless martial arts had to believe in them in order to produce the power of faith. However, most people treated peerless martial arts as a kind of power and wouldn't produce the power of faith. Ning Shu also didn't plan to let Yao Nyang do it. Yao Nyang was an ordinary person. Even if she practiced peerless martial arts and lived longer, she was still an ordinary person. She would die one day. She should be happy and not shoulder too much. After walking for many days, Ning Shu felt that it was time to return, so he left the Nine Palace Mountain. Returning to the system space, the chat system rang. Ning Shu opened it and saw that it was sent by the main system. Main system, you donated the power of the soul, compensation for you. Ning Shu, compensation, how interesting. Ning Shu rejected the compensation and said, this is my voluntary donation. It can be considered my sincerity towards the Sea of Law. As for the compensation, there is no need. I donated, and now I want to return the donation to her. It can't be that I want to give her the power of the soul and let her donate it after enriching her soul. To be honest, the power of the soul isn't important. What's important is the life force in her soul. These old fogies are very bad. Don't tell me I have to keep donating? Speaking of which, this is also a method. Is it reasonable for me to keep donating blood? To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3863. Ning Shu didn't even think about it before rejecting the soul power from the organization. Previously, Zheng Qing had eaten her soul power, so she had to accept it as compensation. But this was donated by her, so she didn't want it. The organization gave it to her because they wanted to get her to donate again, so they could achieve their goal in another way. It wouldn't cause her to retaliate violently. Although she might be overthinking it, it might even be the organization's compensation. After donating her blood, she would still get 2 eggs to eat. But Ning Shu didn't want it. The main system was a little surprised. You don't want it? Usually, she would make a fuss when she had nothing to do. Whenever she lost something, she would make a fuss about it. Now, she didn't want it at all. Ning Shu, no, I donated it. Asking for the donation back? What kind of donation was that? It was clear. Now that she had accepted the gift, it was unclear. The main system was silent for a while and didn't give her any more soul power. Then it typed a few words. Go and deal with the Star Rock. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. My soul is weak. I can't deal with the Star Rock. Let's talk about it later. Dealing with the Star Rock would hurt the soul. If the soul was strong, it would be fine. But when it was weak, the impact would be huge. Ning Shu didn't want to be abused at this time. Restless. The main system was silent again. It just ignored Ning Shu. Ning Shu sat on the sofa with her legs crossed. She took out a fruit and spat out the skin and the core. She was carefree. After resting for a while, she would do missions and get some soul power. Then she would get Zhu Jun to help her collect some soul fluid. Maybe her soul would recover soon. Ning Shu ate the fruit and realized that she couldn't even hold it. She looked at her soul. It was so transparent that she couldn't see it. What was going on? Where was her soul power? Ning Shu looked at her soul and fell into a daze. What happened? She just ate a fruit. Ning Shu asked, Can you still see me? There are some marks. If you don't look carefully, you won't be able to see them. Dan Qing said. Ning Shu asked Dan Qing, Did you see what happened to me? Dan Qing was silent for a moment. I don't know. Anyway, with a whoosh, you became transparent. Whoosh. The question was, what had happened? Ning Shu was a little confused. What was he going to do? If this went on, his soul would scatter. He hurriedly ran to the world of reincarnation and prepared to ask for more soul fluid. After a moment of silence, Zhu Jun said, I don't have any soul fluid on hand. I'll go look for wandering souls that are about to dissipate. After Zhu Jun left, Ning Shu sat on the sand. He saw that the sand had sunk down slightly, but he couldn't see anyone. Ning Shu propped up his chin and felt very melancholy. He looked at the souls coming and going, but none of them noticed him. Ning Shu became even more depressed. What had happened to his soul? He touched the peerless martial art on his ear. It was still on his soul. He was afraid that his soul would be so weak that the peerless martial art wouldn't be able to hold it. Zhu Jun gathered many skeletons to look for wandering souls. He found half a bottle of soul fluid and hurriedly brought it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu jumped up and rushed toward Zhu Jun. He wanted to take the bottle in Zhu Jun's hand, but it directly passed through him. He couldn't touch it at all. Ning Shu? Give it to me. Ning Shu opened his mouth. What could he do? He could only take it with his mouth. Zhu Jun held the bottle and poured the soul fluid into Ning Shu's mouth. After half a bottle of soul fluid, Ning Shu raised his transparent hand and looked at it expectantly. But after a while, his soul didn't change at all. The smile on Ning Shu's face froze. The smile gradually disappeared. The smile completely disappeared. Ning Shu was expressionless. Zhu Jun, do you want me to go look for some more in the other worlds? Zhu Jun asked. Ning Shu had an extremely terrifying thought in his heart. That was, his soul had some unknown changes. It might have always been transparent like this. Or it might be that his soul power wasn't enough. Ning Shu nodded. Okay, get more this time. Zhu Jun turned around and went to work. He informed the skeletons in the other worlds to help him look for wandering souls that had no consciousness and were about to dissipate. Ning Shu sat on the sand in a low mood. His whole person was not good. He thought that he was as beautiful as a flower, but in the end he became a transparent person. No one could see his beauty anymore. Moreover, he couldn't see his own beauty anymore. He could only see a transparent outline in the mirror. It was really a dog's cry. Ning Shu envied the souls with strong souls. They walked in front of him one by one. Even a weak soul was much better than his current state. Ning Shu was bored of waiting. He stretched out his hand and couldn't even grab the sand. What use would he have in the future? He still had to go to the cub shelter to cook. How could he cook like this? Now, Ning Shu felt that he was crippled. He couldn't carry anything on his shoulders. He was a cripple. He just didn't know if he could hold the god-beating whip now. His combat strength had been reduced to 10%. Sob, sob, sob. He really wanted to cry. Zhu Jun came back with 2 bottles of soul fluid. He didn't say much. He opened them and poured them directly into Ning Shu's mouth. Ning Shu smacked his lips and drank the 2 bottles of soul fluid. He looked at his soul with anticipation. From then on, Ning Shu lost her beautiful smile. Unless his soul recovered, Ning Shu felt that his soul was like an hourglass. There was a hole. No matter how much soul power was poured in, it was useless. Why was it like this? What happened? He just ate a fruit. That fruit was just an ordinary fruit of the void. He didn't know how much he had eaten in the past. Zhu Jun, do you want me to go and find some more? He asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu waved his hand. Forget it. There's no need. It's useless no matter how much you have. There was a problem with his soul. He even suspected that it was because he donated his soul power that the peerless martial art was very dissatisfied with, so it did this. Because his soul was tied to the peerless martial art, donating it would damage the peerless martial art's vitality. Although it was just a guess, Ning Shu felt that this was the reason. The peerless martial art simply took the firewood from under the cauldron. It directly caused his soul to become like this, leaving him with nothing to donate. Even if the organization asked him to donate now, it was just a chicken feather. Why did this peerless martial art have such a personality? If you don't want to, you can tell me. Why are you tormenting me like this? He couldn't do anything now. He was like a cripple. He couldn't even pick up things. She was being coerced and controlled by the peerless martial art. However, the peerless martial art was just a book now. Even if it wasn't a book now, it still had to evolve into a world of life. It was still a world after all. It was still different from a human's thinking. Ning Shu suspected that there was a problem with his soul. As for what the problem was, he hadn't found the root of the problem. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3864. It was probably not the organization that did something to her. If she was the organization and wanted her to donate her soul, how could she donate when her soul had become like this? Ning Shu was lazy and didn't want to move at all. What should she do? Zhu Jun could only vaguely see a transparent silhouette that had shrunk into a ball, looking pitiful. He said, "I'll get you some more." Ning Shu didn't want to waste time. No need, it's useless no matter how much I eat. Zhu Jun. Then there was no other way. Ning Shu couldn't touch her own face. Thinking about her beautiful face, she felt that it was a pity. Her soul didn't hurt or itch, and she didn't feel weak. Why was it so transparent? Was it because the peerless martial art absorbed her soul? That peerless martial art was really omnivorous. After eating so many good things, it was still interested in her soul. Zhu Jun asked, "Then what are you going to do?" "I'll do what I have to do. At most, I'll take a vacation while my soul is transparent." She wasn't in the mood to do missions or work. Her mood was very low. Zhu Jun suggested, "Then why don't you go to the colorful world for a stroll?" She didn't want to go. Ning Shu shook her head. "No, you can wait for a while if you want to go." Zhu Jun suggested again, "Then why don't you stay in the world of reincarnation for a while to nourish your soul?" Although the world of reincarnation didn't have much effect on nourishing the soul, it was better than other places. Ning Shu nodded in boredom. "Let's talk about it later." Zhu Jun looked at Ning Shu's half-dead appearance and said, "Why don't you go ask the others and see what's wrong with your soul?" Ning Shu made an sound. He probably wouldn't be able to get anything out of anyone. Moreover, Ning Shu didn't want to ask Sang Liang and the others. It was embarrassing to appear in front of them like this. She was someone who wanted to save face. Didn't he want to save face too? Maybe after a while, her soul would be fine. Let's wait and see. In one's life, one had to experience some bitter things. Zhu Jun was completely at his wit's end. He stood silently beside Ning Shu. Ning Shu was in a daze for a while. Seeing that Zhu Jun was still there, he said, "Go ahead and do your work. I'll stay here for a while." "Zhu Jun, then I'll be leaving." Ning Shu waved his hand. "Zhu Jun, then I'm really leaving." Ning Shu waved his hand. "Let's go." This time, Zhu Jun really left. He didn't stop at all, leaving behind a carefree figure. Ning Shu sat on the black veil. He thought that he should ask the Abyssal Prefect about the soul. Perhaps the Abyssal Prefect would know. However, it seemed that the little demon was at a critical juncture and couldn't be disturbed. Forget it, his soul was fine for the time being. Let's talk about it later. Let's talk about it later. After all, he had experienced some things. Facing such a situation, Ning Shu did not panic. No matter how much he panicked, it was useless. He wasn't dead yet. Ning Shu wandered around the world of reincarnation and found some black fruits. They were quite sweet. This kind of fruit was quite nourishing for the soul. Unfortunately, it was useless for Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "They assigned you a task. They asked you to go to the world to collect materials." "Ning Shu, do you think I can do such a task in my current state?" "Dan Qin, I told the organization, but unfortunately, they ignored me." Ning Shu. In this case, he had to expose his own shortcomings. Ning Shu had to stand in front of Sang Liang and the others. Ning Shu came to the consultation room of the City of Water and waited. When Sang Liang came out, he immediately asked, "Can you help me check if there's a problem with my soul?" Sang Liang looked up and down at Ning Shu and asked, "What's the matter?" "Ning Shu, I just don't know what's going on. I've drunk a lot of soul fluid, but it's always so transparent. I'm so scared and worried." Sang Liang. He was really speechless. Ning Shu looked at Sang Liang expectantly and asked, "What's wrong with my soul?" Sang Liang carefully looked at Ning Shu's soul and shook his head. I don't know. Although Ning Shu wanted Sang Liang to know his situation, he really couldn't do anything. He also hoped that Sang Liang could know his situation. Maybe he could find a way to solve it. He was a little disappointed, but he didn't despair. "Thank you. You can see my current situation. I can't even pick up things. I can't take props. There's no way I can handle star stones." Sang Liang said coldly, "If you can't pick up props, go do missions. Once you enter your body, you can pick up anything." "Ning Shu, we'll talk about it when my soul recovers," Ning Shu said. Sang Liang nodded. "But you'll need to leave the organization for a while. After all, you have to finish what you need to do." Ning Shu, got it. There was no other way. This was the deal. Ning Shu asked casually, "How much?" Sang Liang asked for money every time they met. Sang Liang, 100,000 merit points. Ning Shu paid and left. He wanted to eat something, but he couldn't pick up his chopsticks. It seemed that he could only do missions. He couldn't do anything else. Originally, he thought that with his soul in this state, the soul power obtained from missions would be useless. Because it would be useless no matter how much he gave it, he decided not to do missions. In the end, he still had to do it. Otherwise, he would have to delay his departure from the organization. Whether this promise was true or not, and whether this deal could be fulfilled in the end, Ning Shu had to do it. Back in the system space, Ning Shu said to Dan Qing, "Let's go do missions." Dan Qing was a little surprised that he could take the initiative to do missions. She immediately nodded. "Okay, let's do missions." Fa Tian came back in a hurry. He didn't notice the transparent Ning Shu at all. He picked up the little mouse statue and smeared a layer of something on the little mouse. Then he stared at the statue without blinking. Ning Shu looked up with tears streaming down her face. Even Fa Tian couldn't see her now. Ning Shu walked to Fa Tian and suddenly said, "Hi." Fa Tian was startled. He looked back and saw the transparent outline of Ning Shu. He asked, "What's wrong with you?" Ning Shu smacked her lips and wanted to cry. "I don't know. Anyway, my soul suddenly became like this." Fa Tian raised his eyebrows and reached out to touch Ning Shu's soul. His hand went through her soul. Fa Tian took back his hand and looked at it. He said, "Don't worry too much. It's good to be transparent for a while. Just think of it as fasting." Ning Shu? She didn't have a body. What fasting? Ning Shu looked at the little mouse statue and asked, "What did you do?" Fa Tian said casually, "Oh, I just did something to see if it could come back to life." Ning Shu looked at the statue and said, "Oh, I see. Why do I feel like this statue is alive?" Ning Shu looked closer and found that the little mouse's fur seemed to be real. It was reflecting light. It was made of mud. No matter how realistic it was still fake. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3865. But this time, the fur was real. It seemed to be a body of flesh and blood, full of life. Fa Tian glanced at it. "It's all right. There's hope for it to wake up." "What did you put on it just now?" After rubbing that thing, the sculpture underwent a qualitative change. It was a treasure found in the Donglan Sea. Ning Shu sighed. "You're quite good to the little mouse. To go to such great lengths for it, it seemed like he truly treated the little mouse as a companion." Fa Tian was speechless. "Ha," Ning Shu said with relief, "you're really a Nuwa." Fa Tian corrected him expressionlessly. "I'm a boy." Ning Shu asked, "The Donglan Sea. It was found for you by the Donglan Sea, right?" Tian said, "No." Sensing that this topic wasn't very pleasant, Ning Shu changed the topic. He asked, "Do you think it's because I donated some soul energy that my soul became like this?" He donated soul energy, but it was actually his life force. Fa Tian's eyebrows immediately furrowed together. In the end, his entire face was scrunched up as if he had a toothache. Ning Shu knew what Fa Tian wanted to say. "Logically and morally, I should do something. This is nothing. As for the consequences of my donation, I should be the one to bear them." Fa Tian nodded. "That's true. When the time comes, I can leave calmly and easily. I won't have to start a new life with something on my back. But it's better to have a change in the soul than not changing at all. Maybe it'll develop in a good direction. After all, it's not a change from a serious injury, so there's no need to worry about it." Ning Shu saw that Fa Tian didn't seem to care about his changes at all. That calm look made Ning Shu feel that his changes weren't a big deal at all. It wasn't worth worrying about at all. Ning Shu nodded. "That's true. It wasn't a big deal. Anyway, he had the will of death buff. It wouldn't be easy for him to die." Ning Shu saw the little mouse's sculpture move from the corner of his eye. He couldn't help but take a closer look. The sculpture stopped moving again. Could it be that her soul was transparent? Even her eyesight was not good. However, he believed that the little mouse would come back to life soon. He did not know if the little mouse would still be the same little mouse when it woke up. The sculpture of the little mouse moved again. Ning Shu confirmed that he didn't see wrongly this time. He hurriedly called out to An, "Look, didn't the little mouse move?" Fa Tian stared at the sculpture. Under their gazes, the sculpture began to move stiffly. It moved its arms and legs like a robot, blinking its eyelids. Ning Shu did not need to breathe. At this moment, he subconsciously held his breath. He watched as the little mouse's eyes gradually regained their vigor. However, at first, he was confused. He stared at the world with a strange and fearful gaze. A dead creature had come back to life. This was a very magical thing. It could actually reverse life and death. Void creatures died and disappeared. They did not even have a soul. However, the little mouse had come back to life. Fation had a pair of godly hands. What was he studying? Fation was no longer the Fation she knew. He became mysterious and powerful all of a sudden. The little mouse looked at Ning Shu and Fation. Its eyes were very blank. It seemed to have remembered something. In short, all kinds of memories collided in its head, making it very uncomfortable. There were these two people's faces in its memory. The little mouse's body was very stiff. Its limbs were also very clumsy. Figyan said, "Don't move. You're mud now. If you move too much, you'll lose your arms, legs, and head." Ning Shu. It was really made of mud. When the little mouse heard Fation's words, its eyes were confused. It took a long time to understand Fation's words. It stood there obediently and refused to move. Not to mention other things, just the fact that it had a low IQ made it completely the little mouse. Ning Shu wanted to do the mission, but she had to keep an eye on the little mouse's current situation. Its body had always been stiff. Ning Shu asked on, "Has its body always been this stiff?" It melted as soon as water poured on it. It was like a clay doll that couldn't be blown away by wind or hit by rain. Also, did it still have strength? Fitian said casually, "Maybe. It's not its original body after all. As for whether it will always be like this, we'll see after a while." Ning Shu looked at Fation. "Why are you so calm? Aren't you happy at all?" Fation's self-control was really good. Wasn't he happy that a living creature he had handled had come back to life? Fation nodded. "I'm happy." The first test subject seemed to have succeeded, but whether its strength was still there needed time to verify. It was also a failure. Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. "This kid, forget it." Fation was a steady kid. She couldn't expect him to jump around happily like an ordinary kid. The little mouse that had woken up was an ignorant child. It also had a problem, which was that it kept howling as if it was in pain, but it couldn't say what it was. The howling made one's liver tremble. Ning Shu asked Yan, "What's wrong with it? Why is it in so much pain?" Fation thought for a moment and said, "It's probably a memory conflict. Because it had just woken up and was hit by the memory crystal, its head hurt. It'll be fine after a while. It'll be fine after it digests the memory." "Memory?" Ning Shu frowned. "Does it still remember Li Wen?" Fation hesitated for a moment and shrugged. "That's hard to say. It depends on how well it can accept it. Besides, I don't know much about the relationship between the two of them. I only mentioned it briefly." Ning Shu nodded. Fation secretly poked the little mouse with his finger. The little mouse howled when Fation poked it. Looking at the little mouse, Ning Shu fell into depression. How was he going to deal with this little mouse? Did he have to take care of another child? Moreover, it kept howling day and night. The howling made one's liver tremble. It felt like it could die in the next second. Besides watching and listening, there was nothing they could do. Ning Shu tried to think of a way to stop it from howling, but he couldn't think of anything. He could only light some agarwood. The agarwood could calm the mind. Fation dug his ears. His ears were probably hurting from the little mouse's howling. He said, "I want to go back to the Holy Land." Ning Shu looked at the little mouse and waved his hand without looking up. "Go ahead. It's really annoying. I'll look after it. If there's any problem, I'll look for you." Fation let out a sigh. "Forget it. I'll stay here and wait for it to stop causing trouble before I leave." Fation thought for a moment, grabbed the little mouse, and drew some divine patterns on its body. The little mouse seemed to calm down and fell into a deep sleep. However, not long after, the little mouse started howling again. It was a nightmare. Ning Shu. It was painful. She also felt her head hurt. It was very painful. There was nothing heaven could do. He could only let him howl as he pleased. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3866. The little mouse's wails echoed throughout the system space. It opened its mouth and cried loudly. Ning Shu wanted to get a pacifier and stuff it into the little mouse's mouth. He had a bad feeling. He felt that the little mouse in the future would be more annoying than the little mouse in the past. In particular, their IQ was lower than before. If they grew up and saw Li Wen, they would run away. That would be really troublesome. After all, the little mouse only had Li Wen in its heart. It wouldn't care about anyone else. Thinking of this, Ning Shu really wanted to crush the little mouse. He didn't know what the little mouse saw in Li Wen. It was so sincere. It was a mystery. It was a crazy fanboy. A creature in the void worshipped a human so much. Li Wen was really a role model for humans. Dan Qing had already shut off his 5 senses. He didn't urge Ning Shu to do the mission. In this situation, he knew the answer even if he asked. Fa Tian asked Ning Shu, "Why don't we just crush it?" It had been a long time, but the memories hadn't been received yet. Could it be that when he squeezed its head too small? Now it looked like a person with cerebral palsy. Such a child would suffer if it lived. It was a failed experiment. Ning Shu said, "That's not good. Let's wait and see." After all, it was the first creature that Fa Tian revived. With the little mouse by Fa Tian's side, it could take care of Fa Tian a little. Now that Fa Tian was walking alone in the void, Ning Shu was especially worried. Fa Tian secretly rolled his eyes and dug his ears. He silently threatened in his heart, "If you shout again, I'll crush you." However, the little mouse didn't know what Fa Tian was thinking. Perhaps it sensed some danger, and its wails turned into soft sobs. It sobbed, and it felt like it might not be able to breathe. It was equally frightening. Ning Shu sighed. He felt that little mouse's IQ was a problem. What if he really became a mentally retarded child? As time went by, little mouse's sobs became softer and softer. Feeling that he was about to die, he closed his eyes. Ning Shu reached out and touched the little mouse. He could feel that it was still alive. Perhaps it was man-made. The little mouse's body might have subsequent problems. As for his strength, Ning Shu didn't look forward to it. From a certain point of view, this kind of resurrection could not be considered a resurrection. Hopefully, it wasn't a powerless existence. Ning Shu told his worries to Fa Tian, but Fa Tian didn't agree with Ning Shu's idea. After all, Ning Shu was using the origin strength, the strength of a peerless martial art. Her strength shouldn't be weak. This kind of strength was much higher than the strength he had obtained in the past. If she was really a piece of trash, then he could just raise her. If she was really a defective product, then her lifespan wouldn't be long. Moreover, she was made of mud. Once there was a problem, she would die very quickly. Fa Tian comforted, "She shouldn't be weak. After all, we used many treasures on her body. Don't worry." Ning Shu's mouth twitched. How could he believe it? Forget it, he would just treat her as a pet. He wouldn't bring her out. He would just raise her in the system space. Fa Tian stopped wailing. Ning Shu also relaxed a little. He said to Han, "Go back to the sacred land. Tell Elder Divine Tree about my situation. I won't be going to the sacred land to cook or comprehend divine imprints for the time being." Fa Tian asked, "Then what are you going to do?" "Do missions. If I keep delaying it, the time I have to leave the organization will be longer." Fa Tian nodded. "Okay, I'll tell Elder Divine Tree. I think we should find a safe place in the void as a place to stay after leaving the organization." There's no rush to find a place to stay. Take care of your safety. Wherever the void was safe, there was no safe place. The sacred land was relatively peaceful and safe, but it didn't seem like he could stay there forever. When Fa Tian was no longer a cub, the cub wouldn't take him in anymore. Could it be that he wanted to open a shop in the sacred land? What kind of requirements would there be? Ning Shu thought a little further. What he hoped for the most was that he had enough strength. That way, he could go wherever he wanted and do whatever he wanted. He didn't have to worry about this and that. There was so much void waiting to be explored, but he didn't have the strength to do so. It was too sad. Only with strength could he explore the mysteries of life with Fation and do experiments with Fation. Ning Shu was now very interested in Fation's clay figurines. What was the principle behind reviving a void being that had been annihilated the moment it died? Fation said to Ning Shu, "I want to enter the peerless martial arts." Ning Shu asked, "What do you want to do?" "I want to collect some life force." As time passed, this kind of life force would gradually dilute due to the birth of the world. The original Sea of Law also had this ability, giving birth to Taishu and Jingqing. But as time passed, the Sea of Law didn't have this ability. Now, the Sea of Law didn't even have any life force. Ning Shu said without thinking, "Then go in." Ning Shu followed him into the peerless martial arts. The peerless martial arts was now a vast ocean. Previously, it could submerge the calves, but now it could submerge the chest. Feeling the rich life force in the water, Ning Shu was happy. The peerless martial arts would definitely be a powerful world in the future. With such rich life force and spiritual energy, the creatures born here would definitely be very powerful. They would be innately stronger, just like the void creatures. However, the peerless martial arts couldn't be compared to the void. Fation took out a bottle and filled a few bottles before stopping. The water level dropped a little. It could be seen that Fation had filled a lot. Fation wanted to use the water to make mud, so he didn't have to come here to get water. Looking at the vast ocean of peerless martial arts, Fation said, "You're quite lucky." Ning Shu said, "It's okay. Although I'm unlucky, at least I survived." Other than comforting himself, what else could he do? Sometimes, when he was unlucky, it was really infuriating. Fation said, "People won't always be unlucky, and they won't always be lucky. Some people are powerful and aloof, but there will also be a day when they collapse and turn into dust." He looked at Ning Shu. Some people are as lowly as dust, but they can also stand tall. Seeing him rise and fall, seeing him fall, the world changed and the world changed. Ning Shu felt that Fation was getting better and better at talking. Hearing these words, she felt sweet in her heart, and said with a smile, "You're right, I think I'm doing pretty well right now." Everything was developing in a good direction, and there was hope for her to leave the organization. Right now, the peerless martial arts could temporarily provide her with strength that could fight against others. Although she would be weak after that. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3867. Fading Heaven looked at Ning Shu and said, "You should build up your confidence and make your own decisions. If you believe in something, no one can shake your confidence and decision." Ning Shu clenched his fist. Whiting. His confidence was incomparably strong. Build it up slowly. Strong confidence came from strong strength. Only with confidence could one have confidence. As long as he had strong strength, Ning Shu felt that he could expand by more than 250 kilograms. Ning Shu asked, "Have you collected enough?" "Get more. Otherwise, there might not be much left." A living world had water first, but water alone was not enough. There had to be land so the water would slowly disappear. Fitian said, "It's enough. I've collected a lot." It was enough for him to make a lot of clay figurines. And it would not form so quickly. If it was not enough, he would get more. The two of them came out of the ultimate martial arts and stayed inside for a while. The world tree absorbed some spiritual energy. At this time, it grew some branches and looked more luxuriant. It was green and looked especially healthy. With more branches, there would be more leaves. With more leaves, there would be more living worlds in the future. Ning Shu was calm about the changes in the world tree. The world had changed, which meant that Ning Shu had more responsibilities. Therefore, Ning Shu was not happy at all. It was something that was born in his hands, so he had to protect it. Ning Shu stretched and felt very comfortable. He felt very relaxed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his body. Although he did not know why, he felt great. He just felt relaxed and comfortable. However, the little mouse's cry broke Ning Shu's comfortable mood. He forgot that there was such an annoying little guy in the system space. He did not know how to coax it. If it did not understand, he could not hug it in his arms. Ning Shu's current soul state could not carry it at all. Ning Shu said to An, "Why don't you hug it and coax it?" Fa Tian's expression changed greatly, and he frantically rejected this suggestion. "I don't want it, I don't want it." Ning Shu had no choice. He made a cradle and said to An, "You put it in there. I'll use the vines to rock the crib." Fa Tian picked up the little mouse and threw it directly onto the crib. The little mouse was thrown into confusion. Ning Shu was speechless. How violent! Ning Shu rocked the cradle. The little mouse, Su, ran, whimpered, but no longer wailed. He would not be able to leave anytime soon, so he could only wait for the little mouse to recover before he could complete the quest. Fa Tian could not sit still in the system space. It was as if there were thorns on his body. He could not sit comfortably or stand peacefully, as if he had ADHD. Ning Shu said, "You can go. There's nothing to be busy with here." He was used to the vast and endless void. Being trapped in such a small system space made him very irritated. Moreover, the little mouse kept whimpering. It was very annoying. Fa Tian now regretted using the little mouse as a test subject. Fa Tian glanced at the little mouse and nodded. "Then I'll go. If it can't handle it, just leave it be. It'll be fine after crying for a while." Ning Shu was speechless. Fa Tian hurriedly left. The boat of friendship really capsized just like that. When the little mouse was tired of whimpering, it fell into a deep sleep. Ning Shu rocked the cradle. Suddenly, he wanted to throw the little mouse to the earthworms. If it really couldn't handle it, he would throw it to the cub shelter. However, with the little mouse in this state, Fa Tian would probably not return to the cub shelter. Ning Shu looked at the little mouse and thought to himself, but what kind of feelings did the little mouse have? It was willing to die just to let Li Wen leave. Although it seemed to be little mouse's wishful thinking, the little mouse's action was really heroic. However, Li Wen did not appear again. In fact, it was very easy for Li Wen to find her. It could only be said that Li Wen did not take the little mouse seriously. Even if the little mouse was a void creature and was much stronger than ordinary humans, it was like a godlike existence. However, in Li Wen's heart, the little mouse was probably just a beast. Li Wen had the strong self-confidence of a human. Li Wen had the strongest self-confidence. There were probably not many mission enforcers in the organization who had this kind of self-confidence. With me as the center, no one else could affect my mind. Even the strong void creatures were just SOSO in their hearts. Fa Tian said to build up her strong self-confidence. It was probably this kind of self-confidence. Ning Shu rocked the cradle. This kind of strong self-confidence could not be built for the time being. Then, if she kept a calm heart, she would treat Taishu, Sang Liang, and Uncle Chang as ordinary people. They could also be defeated. She had always been in awe and fear towards these people. From now on, these people were just SOSO in her heart. They had weaknesses and fears. They would also be born, grow old, get sick and die. Like ordinary people, they had obsessions and fears. Ning Shu used the vines to cover the little mouse with a handkerchief. Just like the little mouse, a strong void creature, it could split into countless combat teams. However, it could not be obtained from an ordinary person. As she rocked, Ning Shu felt sleepy. She simply lay on the sofa and slept. She did not know how long she slept. When she woke up, she felt refreshed and her whole body had been sublimated. So high, she felt that her life had reached the peak. Sleep was really a good thing. It had been a long time since she had a good night's sleep. When she woke up, there was no pressure at all. The little mouse was still sleeping. Ning Shu stretched and extended the vines to continue rocking. As long as the little mouse did not cry or make a fuss, it was quite cute. If it really had no strength, it would be like raising a pet. Without strength, even if it wanted to jump around in front of Li Wen, it would not be able to do so. Li Wen wouldn't even spare a glance at such a little rat. Moreover, he did not know where Li Wen was now. Li Wen might have met with an accident. After all, the void was too dangerous, and Li Wen was alone. However, Ning Shu felt that Li Wen was not someone who would be easily led away by a dog. He hoped that the little mouse would receive less of Li Wen's memories and live happily on its own. He really thought that he could move Li Wen by persevering. In fact, Li Wen really did not care about it. The little mouse began to whimper. Ning Shu immediately shook it faster and hummed a song to coax the little mouse. The little mouse opened its eyes and looked at Ning Shu in confusion. It shouted vaguely, "Ning Shu?" Its outline was so unclear, but the little mouse could see it. "Do you remember?" The little mouse climbed up stiffly. Its body staggered and sat down with a plop. It was like a baby, unable to control its body. What happened to me?" the little mouse asked. It remembered that it was dead. "It's okay. Do you still remember what happened in the past?" Read the new chapter of Zay. Chapter 3868. It seemed like the little mouse would not wail for no reason anymore. He was finally relieved. Ning Shu asked tentatively, "Do you still remember Li Wen?" The little mouse's face scrunched up as it asked, "Who is Li Wen?" Ning Shu was a little surprised. The little mouse actually did not remember Li Wen? Could it be that something went wrong during the process of receiving the memories? The most important memory was lost. Ning Shu asked, "Then do you still remember how you died?" The little mouse asked, "How did I die?" Perhaps it was because it did not feel safe for a long time, but the little mouse's attitude towards Ning Shu was unprecedentedly good. There was a faint sense of dependence. It was probably a little like a fledgling. Ning Shu was confused. He didn't even know how he died. Could it be that he had completely forgotten about Li Wen? Could it be that Li Wen hurt it too deeply and made it so angry that it simply blocked the memory of Li Wen? However, this was also quite good. Otherwise, the little mouse would look for Li Wen all day long. It would spend a lot of effort to find Li Wen, but Li Wen would not even care about it. Ning Shu was too lazy to do such useless work. Although he had lived for a long time, he could not waste his time like this. It was not a big deal if it did not remember. Ning Shu said, "It's nothing. Do you want to eat?" Ning Shu used the vine to roll out a fruit. He did not know if the little mouse could eat it. The little mouse grabbed the fruit and ate it. Ning Shu observed for a while and found that it did not have a stomachache after eating it. It was fine. The little mouse was really obedient now. However, she had to do missions. Could she just leave the little mouse in the system space? However, she could not always accompany the little mouse. When Fation was still young, he had to do missions. She did not know how long this delay would take. Therefore, children and whatnot were simply obstacles in the way of a brilliant life. If he sent it to Fation would definitely throw the little mouse away. If Fation hadn't revived the little mouse, Ning Shu would have thought that Fation didn't have any feelings for the little mouse. However, perhaps there really were no feelings? Perhaps the little mouse was just Fation's experimental subject. Even now, Fation was still collecting ashes everywhere. Thinking about it this way, Ning Shu felt that it was quite in line with Fation's feelings towards little mouse. Ning Shu suddenly felt a sense of fear. What if Fation made a clay figurine for no reason in the future, and after resurrecting, they would no longer care about it and would all jump around him? This was simply the rhythm of a disaster film. How terrifying! Ning Shu felt that he should clarify this matter with Fation. Otherwise, he would feel like an old grandmother taking care of her grandson. Although the little mouse stopped crying, Ning Shu still felt very uncomfortable looking at it. After the little mouse finished eating the fruit, it looked at Ning Shu and stared at him. Ning Shu said, "I have to go out to work. Stay at home, sleep, and recall your memories." Little mouse, I don't understand what you're talking about. Ning Shu, I have to go. Stay here. Little mouse, then can you not go? Ning Shu, dear, our suggestion is to think of Li Wen. The little mouse wasn't so clingy in the past. What should I do? I think of earthworms again. Ning Shu wrapped a vine around the little mouse and brought it to the second level of the 9-Palace Mountain. Seeing the two people and the earthworm, Ning Shu looked at the earthworm with a wide smile. The earthworm didn't have any hair, but all the hair on its body stood on end. Although he couldn't see the smile on her face, the malice in her body was already gushing out. Okay? Ever since he met this woman, Nothing good had happened. Seeing Ning Shu's transparent soul, Yao Nyang asked worriedly, "Auntie, what happened to you? How did you become like this?" Han Chen also looked at Ning Shu. She was so transparent that she looked like she was going to disappear. Ning Shu said nonchalantly, "It's nothing. It's just a matter of cultivation. I'll be fine after a while." Souls had always been like this. In any case, he was already used to it. Seeing that Ning Shu didn't care about it, Yao Nyang was slightly relieved. She asked, "Auntie, why are you here?" Ning Shu revealed a smile that made the earthworm's hair stand on end. She used a vine to pick up the little mouse and said, "I found a pet. It's pretty good. I'll bring it to you." Yao Nyang looked at the little mouse with shiny silver fur and a small pink nose. It looked really cute. Being carried and curled up into a small ball, it looked really cute. At least Yao Nyang liked it. Her eyes lit up. The earthworm felt as if it was facing a great enemy. It could sense the powerful aura emanating from the earthworm's body. Clearly, it was not an ordinary mouse. The earthworm asked Ning Shu cautiously, "What do you want now?" "I'll tell you, I won't let you succeed." Ning Shu said, "I'm a little busy. I'll have to trouble you to take care of this little pet. When I'm done, I'll come and take it back." The earthworm immediately said, "You scum, throwing things at me again. What do you take me for?" Yao Nyang took the little mouse from Ning Shu's hand and hugged it in her arms. She said to Ning Shu, "Okay, I'll take good care of this mouse." The earthworm said sharply, I don't agree. Ning Shu took out a bottle of pills and said, "Look at your body. You've always been like this. Turn into a human as soon as possible. Don't you want to walk on 2 feet?" Crawling on the ground was not as comfortable as walking. The earthworm rolled its eyes. "It's none of your business. I like my body." It rolled the bottle with its tail, opened the cap, and stuffed a pill into its mouth. "Let me see if you've poisoned it." "It smells so good." Ning Shu said to the little mouse, "These people are all close to me. They'll take care of you. Don't run around and make it hard for others to find you. I'll come and pick you up when I'm free." The earthworm, it really wanted to spit on her face. Shameless. The earthworm said, "Then come quickly." As soon as it spoke, Yao Nyang was so shocked that she almost threw it out. Han Chen stared at the little mouse in a daze. On the contrary, the earthworm was the calmest. Ning Shu said to Yao Nyang, "She's a little intelligent. She's equivalent to a 5 or 6-year-old human." Yao Nyang made an "oh" sound, but she was still very surprised. However, Han Chen was thinking that this was a divine beast that could speak human language. He wondered how strong it was. At first, Han Chen didn't pay much attention to this mouse. But now, he felt that since it was by the red-clothed demoness side, even if it was a pet, it should be quite strong. Han Chen stopped his relaxed thoughts and paid more attention to the little mouse. Was a divine beast so small? How big was its body? As a man, he hoped to have a powerful divine beast as a pet. It was as cool as a modern man hoping to have a luxurious car. When he walked on the road, he would be domineering. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3869. Being able to communicate made it easier to take care of. At the very least, it knew what it wanted to eat and what it wanted to do. Yao Nyang quite liked the little mouse. She stroked its smooth fur and said to Ning Shu, "Auntie, don't worry. I'll take good care of it." "Hey, I'm leaving." Ning Shu thought to himself. The little mouse probably still wanted to eat energy bodies. Even if it didn't eat energy bodies, it probably still needed to eat plain fragments. He just didn't know if it would change its diet after waking up. Time to get some fragments. If the earthworm had hands, it would have already given Ning Shu the middle finger. Scum, what a scum. Han Chen looked at the little mouse and felt a little jealous. He said to Yao Nyang, "Let me hug it." Yao Nyang handed the little mouse to Han Chen without hesitation. Han Chen reached out to take it, but the little mouse raised its paw and scratched at Han Chen's hand. A few scratches immediately appeared on the back of Han Chen's hand. Blood seeped out from the scratches. Han Chen hissed and quickly retracted his hand. The mouse was too fast. He didn't even see it attack before he felt pain on the back of his hand. Yao Nyang was shocked. She hurriedly asked, "Are you okay?" Yao Nyang handed the little mouse to the earthworm. The earthworm was very reluctant. It could only use its tail to catch it. It repeated countless times in its heart, "Ning Shu is a scum who only gave birth but didn't raise anything." The little mouse stood on the earthworm's tail, but it didn't attack the earthworm. Han Chen was very depressed. Why did it only attack him? He didn't want to do anything to the mouse. Why was it hostile towards him? Why was he so unlikable and unlikable? Yao Nyang took out some medicine from her bag and sprinkled it on the wound. She blew on the wound to reduce Han Chen's pain. She said, "It's probably a little shy. It'll get better after some time." Han Chen, he didn't feel comforted. Didn't they see the mouse together? The mouse was targeting him. Definitely. Unbearable. After being grabbed, Han Chen didn't dare to get close to the little mouse. It didn't look lethal, but it had a bad temper. The thing that followed the red-clothed demoness was definitely not simple. Unfortunately, it was too sensitive, probably because it was more sensitive to human emotions. He admitted that he wanted to get close to it because he wanted to gain the approval of the mythological beast. Ning Shu said to Dan Qing, "I'm going to pick up some fragments." "Where's the plane now?" "Give me the location of a spatial node." Although he couldn't find any tools to deal with the star stones, he still had the vines to pick up the fragments. He gave the little mouse something to eat. As for the energy bodies, it seemed that the little mouse only ate the green energy bodies that were full of vitality. She did not even have an energy body, let alone a green energy body. To be honest, after Little Mouse forgot about Li Wen, Ning Shu also regarded Little Mouse as one of his own people. If Little Mouse remembered Li Wen, it would be useless no matter how much she did. Because in Little Mouse's heart, Li Wen was the only one it cared about. It didn't care about others. If that was the case, Ning Shu was too lazy to care about it. He didn't know if it would remember in the future. He forgot the most important person. Dan Qing, "Okay, I'll ask." After a while, Dan Qing sent the location of the spatial node. Ning Shu reached the location and stretched out his vines to pick up the fragments. He was going to pick up a bag of fragments to bring back for Little Mouse to grind its teeth. He just didn't know if Little Mouse could consume it now. Ning Shu's soul was transparent. At first glance, those vines seemed to grow out of thin air. Under the scrutiny of others, Ning Shu picked up bag after bag of fragments. When the army came to collect the fragments, Ning Shu asked them for a bag of fragments. These fragments were actually useless. Without Little Mouse, no one would come to harass the plane. These fragments were actually used to send Little Mouse and the others away. Of course, they weren't given for free. 10 points of merit was nothing at all. Ning Shu returned to the 9 Palace Mountain and handed the bag to Yao Nyang. "This is food for it. Let it eat it." Ning Shu put his vines into his pocket and took out a fragment for Little Mouse. Little Mouse took it and started chewing. "So, its eating habits haven't changed?" Yao Nyang looked at the fragment that looked like frosted glass and asked, "What is this?" She chewed, and it sounded like her teeth were chattering. "Ning Shu, it's a fragment of a living world. When a world is destroyed, there will be fragments like this." Yao Nyang, "Oh." Han Chen, "Oh. Is it so high and mighty? The food of a fragment of a world is so awesome. What kind of monster is this?" Little Mouse didn't feel like eating anymore after eating a fragment. Clearly, this thing didn't suit its taste. Energy bodies were the best things to eat. Little Mouse was a little unhappy. Yao Nyang hugged it and Ning Shu asked, "What's wrong with it? Is it unable to digest this? What kind of divine ingredient is this?" Ning Shu, "It doesn't like this thing and it wants to eat something better." Yao Nyang, "Oh, understood." Han Chen, #degree. "If this thing doesn't taste good, what does it want to eat?" Ning Shu said, "Don't worry about it. It'll know how to eat when it's hungry." This thing could fill one's stomach, but it couldn't compare to energy bodies in terms of nutrition and texture. Yao Nyang felt like she wasn't hugging a pet, but an ancestor. "I'll take good care of it." Ning Shu thanked Yao Nyang and gave her some spirit stones so that they could use them together to increase their strength. He also instructed the earthworm to cultivate well and transform as soon as possible. The earthworm rolled its eyes. I don't want to become a two-legged monster. After Ning Shu left, Han Chen looked curiously at the fragment of a world in the bag. He reached out and wanted to take it out, but he found that he couldn't even lift a piece of frosted glass. He used all his strength, but he couldn't move it at all. Wow, what are these things? He felt like a frog at the bottom of a well who had never seen anything before. Han Chen looked at the little mouse. Unfortunately, this divine beast didn't want to get close to him at all. Every time he looked at it, the divine beast would look at him with a sharp gaze. As a result, Han Chen wanted to do something, but he was stopped by such a gaze. He couldn't think of anything. That little thought in his heart was extinguished. He couldn't afford to offend this thing that gnawed on the world. He even made the red-clothed demoness develop a bad impression of him for no reason. Han Chen was a very sensible person. He wanted to be proud and arrogant, but he couldn't be proud and couldn't be. He was miserable. Han Chen looked at the little mouse with some resentment. The little mouse was baffled. It raised its paw and scratched at Han Chen, wanting to warn him, but it scared Han Chen so much that he retreated far away. Yao Nyang and the earthworm looked at him. Han Chen rubbed his nose and said awkwardly, I thought it was going to scratch me again. Chapter 3870. Yao Nyang felt that this mouse probably only liked girls and didn't like boys. His attitude towards boys was very bad. As for Earthworm, how could he be considered a boy? He was only an old boy and elder. Yao Nyang stroked little mouse and said, He's with us. Don't scratch him. Han Chen felt a little uncomfortable. Why was he so unlikable? Without little mouse, Ning Shu naturally had to do missions. He finally got rid of little mouse. Little mouse probably hadn't recovered its abilities yet. Perhaps it didn't have any strength and couldn't cause any trouble in Nine Palace Mountain. If Fa Tian revived more and more things in the future, did he have to throw them all to Earthworm? Earthworm would definitely explode. Even Ning Shu felt embarrassed. In the future, he would explain to Fa Tian that he would be responsible for his own creation. She was such a pitiful old mother. Ning Shu said, Let's do missions. Hurry up. He really wanted to do missions. Then, Ning Shu felt dizzy and entered a body. When he opened his eyes were stinging and his eyelids were swollen. His eyes were almost blurred. He was panicking and short of breath. He didn't feel good. Ning Shu sat up on the bed with difficulty and rubbed her head, which was hurting badly. This was a house in a small district. There was no one in the house. His body was too tired, and it seemed that his period had come. His stomach hurt when he moved. No, it was very painful. Ning Shu lifted his clothes and saw the wound on his stomach. It was a little red. This Daoba probably had a cesarean section. There was a big wedding photo hanging on the bedside. It was obvious that this was a married woman who had just given birth and was in confinement. Moving made him feel so uncomfortable that he wanted to cry and vomit. He felt like dying. Ning Shu didn't want to move. He lay back down and accepted the storyline. The client wanted Yin Ting. She had just given birth 10 days ago. There was no one in the house now because everyone had gone to look for the child. Her grandmother took the child out and lost it. Now, everyone was looking for the child. The client was still in confinement and couldn't go out to look for her because of her health. However, she was more anxious than anyone else as she sat on the bed and cried non-stop. When Ning Shu came over, the client was so tired from crying that she couldn't take it anymore and fell asleep. The client gave birth to a girl through a cesarean section. Although her mother-in-law didn't say anything, it was obvious that she wasn't happy because it wasn't a grandson. Moreover, the client's husband was the eldest son. She probably wanted an eldest grandson. The child was a little jaundiced, so the mother-in-law said that she would push the child downstairs to bask in the sun. It was in the garden of the neighborhood. The client didn't think too much about it. He nodded his head and agreed. Without any precaution, she decided to take a nap for a while. She didn't know how long she slept, but when she woke up, her mother-in-law came back with a panicked look on her face. She told the client that the child was missing. She had just gone to the toilet and asked someone to look after the child, But when she turned around, the child was gone. The client felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He asked who the mother-in-law had given the child to, and why she had given the child to a stranger. The client struggled to get up and look for the child. She quickly called her husband, who was at work, and called the police without hesitation. When the mother-in-law saw that Een Ting had called the police, she was stunned for a moment and said, "Why did you call the police?" Een Ting was about to die of anger. The child was missing. If she didn't call the police, did she have to rely on 2 or 3 people at home to look for the child? The husband came back with the police. The police asked the mother-in-law about the facial features of the person who took the child away. The mother-in-law also said incoherently. She couldn't tell the facial features of the person at all. The police didn't expect to get anything out of the old woman's mouth. Another police team checked the surveillance footage and found that the mother-in-law had pushed the child out of the neighborhood and then pushed it to a place 10 miles away. That place was under construction and was relatively desolate. She had left the child there. Of course, there were no surveillance cameras near the road. The police guessed that the child might have been left there. The police rushed to that place urgently, but they didn't find the child at all. Moreover, there were no surveillance cameras in that place. It was summer and it was extremely hot. There wasn't even a person there. When Een Ting and her husband found out that the mother-in-law had thrown the child away, they were furious. They questioned her why she had thrown the child away. This was her granddaughter. How could she bear to do that? The mother-in-law felt wronged, but she still maintained the appearance of an elder. She said in a somewhat unreasonable manner, "Your sister is going to give birth soon. If there are more children, I won't be able to take care of them at all." So, Een Ting cried. "If you're not willing to take care of them for me, just tell me. Why did you throw the child away? That's a child, a life, and your granddaughter. How can you be so heartless?" This old woman also knew that in this era, people still favored boys over girls. She would be laughed at, so she said something about throwing her son's child away when her daughter's child was about to be born. It was simply shocking. To put it bluntly, she favored boys over girls. She directly threw away a child. If there were no children at home, the daughter-in-law could have another child. Speaking of which, it was probably because the client suffered to give birth to this child. She was in pain for a long time but couldn't give birth. She could only be stabbed to give birth. The client vented her anger and told her husband that she didn't want to give birth anymore. Een Ting's husband doted on his wife and comforted her repeatedly, saying that she didn't want to give birth anymore. The mother-in-law probably heard it and took it seriously. She directly threw the child away. The police couldn't find the child. When they came back, they regretfully told Een Ting that they would continue investigating. When the client heard this, she fainted. The longer it took, the greater the danger the child was in. The child couldn't be found. Was it picked up by someone or was it dead? After waking up, Een Ting wanted to fight the mother-in-law. The husband had no choice but to stop her. Een Ting was upset. "She killed our child. That's our child. You still have to protect her." The husband was also very helpless. This was his mother. The child was missing. He also hated it. The husband said, "In the future, she won't live with us. I'll definitely stand on your side." When the mother-in-law heard this, she was extremely angry. But when she saw her daughter-in-law's red eyes and crazy appearance, she didn't dare to say anything. She left the old man at home and came over to take care of her and serve her during her confinement. She threw the child away for their own good. She was just a servant. If she didn't give birth, when she grew old, there wouldn't even be someone to serve her soup. Een Ting was furious. She was so angry that her whole body trembled. She shouted that she wanted a divorce. She didn't want to stay in such a vicious family. When the mother-in-law heard this, she hurriedly apologized and said that she had done wrong. In the future, she wouldn't interfere in the affairs of the younger generation. The child's matter was her fault. Her son had divorced. In the future, he would have to spend a lot of money to get another wife. The girls now were different from the past. They could be married with a few dollars or tens of dollars. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3871. Nowadays, girls wanted houses and money. They had all kinds of demands. If they married someone, they would be like their ancestors. Yin Ting had feelings for her husband, but this matter was really too sad. Her husband knelt in front of her and hugged her. He buried his head in her chest and cried silently. This made Yin Ting extremely upset. She felt as if her heart was being pressed into a pot of oil. It was torturous and painful. However, this matter would not end just like that. After the police searched for more than 10 days, they still could not find the child. Then, the mother-in-law would have to face criminal responsibility. The crime of abandonment. The mother-in-law abandoned the child who was less than a month old and had no ability to take care of himself. She did not even know if the child was alive or dead. For the elderly, young, sick, or other people who did not have the ability to live independently, refusing to support them despite having the obligation to do so, if the circumstances were serious, the sentence would be imprisonment of not more than 5 years, criminal detention or surveillance. Moreover, she left the child in a relatively desolate place. If anything happened to the child, he could not be treated. The circumstances were more serious. The police came and detained the mother-in-law. If possible, she would face jail. The mother-in-law was frightened. She cried and shouted for her son to save her. She was already so old and looked very pitiful. It made people feel that she was hateful and pitiful. After such a thing happened, it was impossible to really leave her alone. Yin Ting's husband first lost his child. Now, he had to run around for his old mother. To reduce the mother's crime, the best way was to write a letter of forgiveness. A petition was to say that she was forgiven and reduce the punishment. Although she was still guilty, at least she would not go to jail. If there was a next time, there would be a severe punishment. Yin Ting's husband knelt in front of Yin Ting and begged her to sign the petition. Yin Ting refused to sign the petition no matter what. To put it cruelly, she wished that her mother-in-law could die. She didn't even know if her poor child was dead or alive. Now, she still wanted to sign the petition. Dream on. Yin Ting's husband also knew that this matter was difficult for her. He swore to her, after this matter, I will not care about her in the future. Not long after, the father-in-law ran over and begged Yin Ting again. He knelt in front of Yin Ting. Yin Ting still did not agree to sign. She was very stubborn. Her husband did not force her. However, not long after, her mother-in-law went home. Why did she go home? Only then did Yin Ting realize that her husband had signed the petition on her behalf, saying that she had forgiven her mother-in-law's actions. What a joke! She had not forgiven her mother-in-law at all. She was so angry that her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Like a crazy demon, she wanted to kill her mother-in-law with a knife. She was frustrated that the murderer was not punished. She had no way to vent her anger. She couldn't control her actions. She waved the knife and rushed over. In the end, she stabbed her husband. Blood flowed out, and Yin Ting woke up immediately. The husband stood in front of his mother-in-law. Fortunately, her husband was young and the doctor did not stab him too deeply. After a few stitches, the bone was not damaged. Her mother-in-law didn't blame Yin Ting for hurting her son. Instead, she knelt in front of Yin Ting and slapped herself, saying that it was all her fault and that she would never interfere in their family's affairs again. Yin Ting was at a loss. She didn't even know where she was or what she should do. Too many things had accumulated in his heart. After that, her husband asked about her well-being. In order to take care of her body, he ran around the hospital. As long as Yin Ting wanted to eat something, he would have to get up in the middle of the night. Of course, Yin Ting was tormenting him on purpose. Looking at him in such a sorry state, Yin Ting's heart ached. But when she thought of her child, at the mention of divorce, her husband hugged her and cried silently. A man would bleed but not cry. With him crying like this, Yin Ting didn't know what to do. Life seemed to get better. This scar would scab, but this scar would also heal. Her mother-in-law basically didn't come over. Even if she came, she didn't dare to enter the house. She would leave some things at the door and leave. That timid and weak look made people feel pity for her. Some people even advised Yin Ting that things were over and people had to move on. That mother-in-law of hers also knew that she was in the wrong, blah blah blah. Een Ting looked at the person who spoke with a gloomy face. She stared at the person so hard that the person couldn't continue speaking. It's not like your child is missing. It's easy for you to say that. The client's health gradually improved, and her life seemed to be on track. But the client kept thinking of her child. 2 or 3 years later, the client's husband said that he wanted a child. The client was unwilling in her heart. She endured a disgusted feeling and made a child with her husband. Perhaps something like that happened during her confinement and her body was damaged. Perhaps it was retribution. She couldn't conceive at all. Even when they went to the hospital for a checkup, there were no major problems with their bodies. It was just that the client was a little weak and started to recuperate. After recuperating for a long time, there was still no sign of the child. In the blink of an eye, both of them were in their 30s, but they still didn't have a child. After a long time, some people would probably forget what they had done and start to worry about the hearts of their elders again. They would send food to the client with a loving attitude. Early in the morning, they would go to the market to buy an old hen and spend a long time stewing it. After stewing it, they would send it to the client. It seemed that this mother-in-law was really great. When she sent it over, she even said to recuperate well and have a child. Both of them weren't young anymore. The client sneered in her heart. Originally, they had a child, but this child was thrown away by the client. Now, they didn't even know if the child was alive or dead. The client couldn't conceive a child. She was probably unwilling in her heart. She was also afraid that if she gave birth to a daughter, her mother-in-law would throw the child away behind her back. She couldn't harm her own child. If she didn't have some feelings for her husband, she would have left. In front of her mother-in-law, she directly poured the old hen soup away with a cold smile. Her mother-in-law wanted to flare up, but when she saw her daughter-in-law's expression, she didn't dare to say anything. The client threw away all the things given by her mother-in-law in front of her mother-in-law. The mother-in-law helplessly said to her son. After such a long time, her daughter-in-law still hadn't forgiven her. How could she continue to live with such resentment in her heart? She couldn't conceive a child either. It was because she didn't want to have a child. If a woman didn't have a child, she would be incomplete. A family couldn't be called a family without a child. The son was annoyed by his mother. He originally had a child, but the child was gone. Now, he was 34 or 35 years old. Not to mention a son, he didn't even have a daughter. The two of them continued to conceive, but there was still no sign of a child. The client felt that it was really retribution. That child was definitely no longer in this world. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3872. This was their retribution. There would be no more children. The murderer was alive and well and had not been harmed. She still wanted a child. What was she dreaming about? The client had already given up on having children. This scar ran through her heart. There was another scar on her stomach that reminded her constantly. But the husband wanted a child. The client allowed him to do whatever he wanted. The disappointment was too torturous. The client's husband was also a little irritated. He smoked more and more and was under a lot of pressure. The mother-in-law felt that the client was deliberately not having children. It was to take revenge on their family and make their family have no descendants. Yes, she was wrong to throw the child away. But she didn't want to have children after giving birth to a girl. She wanted their family to have no descendants. The man was responsible for supporting the family, and the woman was responsible for carrying on the family line. She couldn't even do her own responsibilities. The husband was very annoyed with his mother. She deliberately drove a wedge between them. The more she meddled, the colder his wife was to him. He could feel that his wife was getting colder and colder to him. She was also cold in bed, like a robot. He was not in the mood at all. It was too uncomfortable. The atmosphere at home was also gloomy. He didn't want to go home. When the husband and wife were separated, all kinds of problems appeared. In addition, there was a talkative mother who was always at the side. After a long time, the relationship between the two became more and more unfavorable. But the client didn't care at all. She looked a little disheartened. She couldn't get gentleness and consideration from the client. Naturally, she would get gentleness from other girls. The client's husband had sex with a girl in the company. It was a muddle-headed thing. Originally, it was a matter between adults. The girl also said that she was willing and would not interfere in his family. The client's husband felt guilty. There was a period of time when he came home early after work. He was very gentle and considerate to the client and gave her gifts. It was very romantic. The client's heart softened and she treated her husband better. Unfortunately, after one night, the employee in her husband's company was pregnant. She hurriedly found Zhou Xiaoping, who had a night of love with her, and asked him what to do. Zhou Xiaoping's first thought was to get rid of the child in her belly. But when he thought about how he and his wife couldn't have a child for so long, he thought about it. But to have a child with this woman after just one night, this was really, but if he wanted this child, what would happen to his wife at home? Ever since that incident, their relationship as husband and wife had not been good. If this happened again, their relationship as husband and wife would be gone forever. He hesitated, wondering whether to have children or a wife. Seeing that Zhou Xiaoping was so hesitant, the clerk wanted to abort the child, but Zhou Xiaoping stopped him. Now that he was old, he couldn't wait to have a child. The only pity was that the child was not born from his wife's belly. Zhou Xiaoping hesitantly told his wife about this matter. His client immediately exploded, and his mother-in-law also knew about the conflict between the husband and wife. When she found out that a woman was pregnant with her son's child, she immediately wanted to keep the child. In response to her daughter-in-law's obstruction, she said bluntly, "You can't give birth to a son or a daughter. Now that there's a woman who can give birth and is pregnant, you should let her give birth to the child. Either you get a divorce or you raise this child in the future. I was wrong in the past, and I don't want you to have children in the future. Raise this child well, and I won't separate you and your wife." When the client heard this, she exploded in anger and directly asked for a divorce. Zhou Xiaoping naturally couldn't bear to part with his wife, but his mother-in-law directly shouted, "Let's get a divorce then. If you can't give birth to a child, why don't you abdicate?" Abdicate? No matter how one looked at it, it was like an empress abdicating. The conflict between these two sides exhausted Zhou Xiaoping, and the clerk who had a one-night stand wanted to abort the child. Zhou Xiaoping thought of his previous child and really didn't have the courage to lose another child. He wanted to divorce the client with an apologetic heart. The client was extremely disappointed in her husband and the family, so naturally, they divorced. Not long after, Zhou Xiaoping married the clerk and gave birth to a son. Originally, when this matter happened, she happened to pass by that community and saw her ex-mother-in-law pushing a cart, smiling sweetly and talking to others about her grandson. How cute and smart he was, and at a glance, she knew that he would be a promising person in the future. That loving appearance was like a grandmother to her grandson. The client instantly broke down and thought of her daughter. She did such a thing and didn't receive any punishment. In the end, she even got a grandson as she wished. Her daughter was nothing. Yin Ting was angry and hateful. The pain of losing her daughter was a wound that she couldn't heal in this lifetime. Her husband kept saying that he would treat her well in this lifetime. Her husband's betrayal didn't add much pain to her. Instead, she already had a premonition when her husband signed the forgiveness letter behind her back. It was just that she had a fluke mentality. The client was in incomparable pain, but they were a happy family. She suffered day and night, thinking of her daughter who she had only seen for more than 10 days. She was really unwilling, really hateful, and scratched her heart and lungs. Countless times, she wanted to pick up a knife and drag her ex-mother-in-law down with her. But when she thought of her parents, who were originally heartbroken because of her matter, if they had to send off their child again, it would definitely be incomparably painful. But her hatred couldn't be dispelled. The client's biggest wish was still her child. Secondly, she didn't want to see her ex-mother-in-law have a happy night after doing evil things. Her husband, let's not talk about it. If there was a scumbag mother, there would be a scumbag husband. That Zhou Xiaoping seemed innocent and helpless, but sometimes, it was actually his mother who stood in front of him and became the bad person for him. After Ning Shu received the plot, his head hurt so much that it felt like it was going to explode. Without thinking, he jumped out of bed. The most important thing now was to find the child. In the plot, the client didn't go out to look for the child because her body didn't allow it. The knife wound hadn't healed. On a hot day, it was really unbearable. If the client walked a little faster, the knife wound would have cracked. Now, the client had just called the police. It was only 3 to 4 hours since the incident happened. This mother-in-law walked 10 kilometers away and walked back. It was really hard on herself on such a hot day. It was rare to be so ruthless. She was a woman, but she still despised her own granddaughter and said that she was a girl. Ning Shu went to the bathroom and rubbed his face, tying up his hair. He wanted to rush to the construction site as soon as possible. Out of the room, Ning Shu saw the client's mother-in-law, Tao Xiaohong. She had a golden ring on her ear. Although she was old, she was still in good spirits. When she saw Ning Shu come out, she looked embarrassed. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3873. Seeing that Ning Shu was about to go out, she hurriedly asked, "Dear, where are you going? You're still in confinement. Don't go out in the wind and get sick." She spoke so lovingly. If she hadn't lost the child, she would have looked like a mother-in-law who doted on her daughter-in-law. Ning Shu didn't pay attention to her at all. As soon as she went out, her expression changed. She ran back to the bathroom and changed into a new sanitary pad. Bloody Lokia. Ning Shu felt that the client didn't have a child afterward. Firstly, it was because of psychological reasons. She instinctively resisted having a child. Secondly, her body really couldn't take it. Although they didn't find any major problems, it still hurt her body. After a while, she didn't feel good. She felt like she was going to bleed out at any time. Seeing so much blood, Ning Shu felt weak. It was too scary. After stuffing a few sanitary pads in her bag, Ning Shu went out. Zhao Qiaohong wanted to say something a few times, but when she saw Ning Shu's cold face, she felt weak and didn't dare to speak. She watched as Ning Shu walked out of the door, her mouth muttering Amitba, Amitba. Only Ning Shu didn't hear it. Even if he did, he felt that it was ironic. If there really were gods and Buddhas, would they bless such a person? And what was she praying for? When she prayed, would she find the child, or would she not find the child? Ning Shu ran down the stairs. Every time she moved, the wound on her lower abdomen would hurt. The sun shone on her, but Ning Shu felt a cold wind blowing from her bones. But he was sweating all over. Ning Shu's face was pale. Even his lips were pale. When they arrived at the entrance of the neighborhood, Ning Shu hailed a cab and told the driver the address while panting. He hoped that he could make it. The client's biggest wish was her child. She probably didn't care much about her husband. Her husband's actions had hurt her heart. But there was one more thing. She knew the location of the child before the police came. It couldn't be justified. He had to deal with the aftermath. Let's find the child first. In just a short while, Ning Shu felt dizzy and out of breath. When the driver saw Ning Shu's appearance from the rearview mirror, he worriedly asked, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" Ning Shu waved his hand. "Driver, please hurry up." Driving for more than 10 miles was quite fast. Ning Shu hurriedly got out of the car and scanned the area with his spiritual force. He found that there were no strollers around. Ning Shu. Was he too late? The driver stuck his head out of the car window. Ning Shu shouted, "Sister, are you still going back?" Wait for me," Ning Shu's driver said, and then chased in a direction. Ning Shu's face grew paler and paler. His wound was really fucking painful. He caught up with the tricycle in front of him. The tricycle was filled with bottles, paper, and other recyclables. It was obviously a garbage collector. This garbage collector was an old man. His hair was a little white and his clothes were dirty. Ning Shu pulled the tricycle and shouted, "What are you doing?" Ning Shu endured the pain and put down the stroller. When the old man saw Ning Shu snatching the child, he hurriedly got out of the car. "What are you doing?" "This is my child." Ning Shu panted and said, "Uncle, this is my child, not yours. You picked this child up." After finding the child, Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief. He relaxed a lot and the depression in his heart dissipated a lot. This meant that the child was alive at that time and had not been kidnapped by the human traffickers. She might not be living well, but she was still alive. The old man grabbed the stroller tightly. "Nonsense, this is my grandson. You came up and snatched my child. Do you believe that I will call the police?" "Uncle, she is a daughter, not a grandson," Ning Shu said. The sun shone on his body and it was dazzling. He felt like he was going to die. It was so uncomfortable. "Uncle, thank you. This is really my child." Ning Shu snatched the child and pushed the stroller away. The old man behind couldn't catch up with Ning Shu at all. Furthermore, he was on a broken tricycle and it was even harder for him to run on this uneven road. She could only watch helplessly as Ning Shu ran away with the child. Ning Shu carried the child and sat in the car. He didn't even want the stroller anymore. He said to the driver, "Brother, take me back." The driver was shocked. "Sister, where did you get this child? Where did she snatch a child from? What was wrong with this woman?" Ning Shu felt like he was going to faint at any time. It was really uncomfortable. His lower body was sticky and he could feel that the blood had already wet his pants. But he had no choice. He could only do this. He couldn't care less about this. Ning Shu looked at the child in his arms. It wasn't crying or making a fuss. Its face was red from the sun and it was still breathing. However, its body was boiling hot. It was obviously a heat stroke. Ning Shu said to the driver, "Big brother, take us to the hospital." The driver didn't say anything and drove Ning Shu to the hospital. When he got off the car, Ning Shu's butt was already dripping with blood. The driver looked at the seat and his face twisted. He couldn't bear to look at it. Ning Shu sent the child to the hospital. Because he didn't have any documents, he had to go home to get something. Ning Shu went to the toilet to change into sanitary pads. She felt that sanitary pads were useless. With this amount of blood, he probably had to wear diapers. In order to clear his suspicion of being a prophet, Ning Shu bought a GPS device. How did he find the child? Of course, he used the GPS device. It was connected to the phone's software so that he could know the child's whereabouts at all times. As for why he had to install this thing, there were too many reasons. After going back and forth like this, Ning Shu's face was already pale. When he got home, the client's husband, Zhou Xiaoping, and the police were in the house. When they were asking how the child went missing, Zhao Qiaohong spoke incoherently. She insisted that the child was taken away when she went to the toilet. He didn't know anything. Seeing Ning Shu come back, Zhou Xiaoping quickly held Ning Shu's arm. He really saw Ning Shu's pale face. "Where did you go? You're not in good health and you still went out to look for the child." Ning Shu ignored him and went into the house to change his pants. Now it was sticky and uncomfortable. When he got to the hospital, he had to ask the doctor to prescribe some medicine for him. If he kept moving like this, his body wouldn't be able to take it. Zhou Xiaoping still wanted to say something, but he was shut out by Ning Shu. He almost hit his face. Zhou Xiaoping turned the door but found that the door was locked from the inside. He couldn't get in at all. Zhou Xiaoping was a little worried. His wife didn't say a word when she came back. She looked at Zhou Xiaoping coldly and didn't say anything. This made Zhou Xiaoping feel very bad and uncomfortable. The child was missing. He was worried about the child and his wife's health. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3874. Zhao Qiaohong couldn't sit still. She regretted taking the child away. If she had known it would be so troublesome. When ordinary people saw the police, they were more or less afraid, and Zhao Qiaohong had done something wrong. Although she said again and again in her heart that it was for the good of her son's family, in fact, she understood that it was wrong. Ning Shu took off her pants and looked at the blood on her pants. It was terrible. If there was so much blood on other wounds, there would have been a problem. Only a woman could bleed like this, but it seemed to be quite abnormal. She would stay in the hospital with the child. Ning Shu took her ID card and bank card, stuffed them in her bag, and put on a few clothes to change. She was ready to go to the hospital. Now, she had to deal with the child first. When the child was better, she would solve the problem of this family. The most important thing now was to take care of herself and the child's body. Otherwise, She would not have the energy to fight with evil people. Now she was panting when she walked and spoke without confidence. Ning Shu opened the door with her bag. Zhou Xiaoping saw this and reached out to take the bag in her hand and asked, "Where are you going?" Ning Shu put her hands behind her back and did not let Zhou Xiaoping touch her things. She said, "I'm not in good health. I'm going to the hospital for a few days." And she looked at Zhao Qiaohong and said, "I found the child. He was found at a construction site 10 miles away. How did the child get there? I hope the police can check the surveillance video." Zhao Qiaohong was shocked and blurted out without thinking, "How did you find him?" Several police officers and Zhou Xiaoping all looked at her in surprise. She realized that she had spilled the beans. Ning Shu was a little out of breath. When she spoke, it sounded particularly sonorous and powerful. "My mother-in-law, this is a high-tech era. It's not the era where you can't find your child if you throw it away. I put a tracker on the child," Ning Shu said. "Tracker, why did it sound like a TV drama?" She felt like she had been fooled and said angrily, "Tracker, you're guarding against me, your mother-in-law. In all honesty, I left my family behind and came to take care of your child." Ning Shu's expression was cold. "I wasn't guarding against it, but I didn't expect it to work. Officer, this is considered abandonment. Moreover, she abandoned the child at a construction site with few people. That construction site has now stopped development, and very few people usually go there. Leaving the child without treatment on such a hot day, the child will either die of thirst, starvation, or exposure to the sun. The plot is too bad. She values boys over girls. She despises the fact that I gave birth to a girl and wants to throw my child away. The child is already born. It's just a human life." Ning Shu shut her mouth. She was out of breath after saying those words, but she steadied her breathing to prevent herself from speaking too quickly. No matter when she needed to confront someone, she had to be calm. Things like holding a knife and slashing people were illegal. It was more interesting to torture them slowly. The most painful thing in life was not death, but endless pain. That was despair. The police officer was stunned by Ning Shu's words. When he came back to his senses, he nodded. Yes, if the truth is like that, then she committed the crime of abandonment. Ning Shu curled her lips and smiled. This time, there was a petition. "I'll fucking kneel down for you." Zhou Xiaoping had better be aware that she had to make a fuss so that everyone knew about it. In the plot, Zhou Xiaoping could even be considered to have forged documents. That meant that the person who commissioned it did not care. If they did, it would be enough to make Zhou Xiaoping suffer. Also, if she had an affair, the person who commissioned it would not care. However, Ning Shu felt that she was a petty person. She had to be calculative. Zhao Qiaohong relied on her old age and the petition from her family. She only lost some money and Zhao Qiaohong escaped punishment. It did not affect Zhao Qiaohong at all. In the end, she even succeeded in getting a grandson. She enjoyed her old age and was a happy old man. Sometimes, when people did evil, they really did not get any retribution. However, after Zhao Qiaohong died, when she reincarnated, more of her spiritual energy would definitely be taken away by the reincarnation pool. However, who knew that it was difficult for the living to get rid of their depression? Telling others about the next life was not comforting at all. What kind of hatred and resentment could be held in this life? Did they have to wait for the next life? If they couldn't do it in this life, why wait for the next life? When Zhao Qiaohong heard the police say that she had broken the law, she was scared out of her wits. She immediately shouted, "I didn't want to abandon her. My daughter is about to give birth. I can't take care of her." This reason was too far-fetched. She was treating others as fools. Ning Shu sneered, "You don't care about your daughter at all. You haven't treated her well since she was young. After your daughter got married, she rarely came back. You still want to take care of her child. You can't even find a better reason." She was a person who valued boys over girls. It was simply ridiculous that she still wanted to take care of her daughter's child. Her heart only had the old man at home and Zhou Xiaoping, her son. When did she think about her daughter? It was said that when she signed the petition, the person's sister-in-law was not very willing. However, she could not stand her father's pleas and signed it. At this time, she used her daughter as a shield and said that it was for her daughter. She was drunk. If that sister-in-law heard it, she would probably scold someone. Zhao Qiaohong was so angry that she wanted to die. At this time, she did not side with her family. It seemed that she even wanted to instigate the police to arrest her. She angrily scolded, "You are too cruel. Xiaoping, this is your wife." The child was found. Zhao Qiaohong was a lot more confident. The child was found, so it was not a crime of abandonment. Ning Shu said calmly, "I'm heartless, but you're even more heartless. The child just had an accident and hasn't seen the world yet. If you throw her away like this and she dies, she'll definitely come looking for you as a ghost." She prayed to God and Buddha every day, but she did not even learn the way to be good. No matter what Buddha or immortal she prayed to, the basic purpose was to guide people to be good. Some people were good and did not even have a basic conscience. They had no humanity. It was probably not a child born in her belly, so she did not need to love and care. This kind of child is the most powerful when she turns into a malicious spirit. The child is not dead. If something happens to her, your heart will be gnawed day and night. You will not be able to live or die. Wasn't it superstition to scare you to death? The police did not know whether to laugh or cry. Was it really good to promote feudal superstitions in front of them? However, they did not stop Ning Shu from speaking. To be honest, if what she said was the truth, this old woman's heart was really cruel. Ordinary people could not do such a thing. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3875. If anything happened to the child, it could be considered intentional homicide. After all, such a young child did not have the ability to save herself or call for help. Without treatment, she could only watch helplessly as she died. It was cruel. Zhou Xiaoping stood at the side with a pale face, silent. At this time, no matter what he said, it would be useless. After talking for a while, Ning Shu felt that her pants were about to get wet again. She went to the bathroom to change and left with her bag. The child was still in the hospital. Zhou Xiaoping wanted to carry Ning Shu's bag and go to the hospital together, but Ning Shu rejected him directly. "Stay away from me. Don't hang around in front of me. Otherwise, I'll hate you too." Zhou Xiaoping's face became even paler, and his eyes were a little red. It was heartbreaking to see him like this. Ning Shu had a heart of stone. Even if Zhou Xiaoping cried to death in front of her, she would not bat an eyelid. She left with her bag. Zhou Xiaoping watched as Ning Shu left the house and grabbed his hair in pain. The police had also checked the surveillance footage. The scene they saw was the same as what Ning Shu said. She was the one who pushed the child away, not some stranger. Zhou Xiaoping looked at the surveillance footage, his hands trembling as he covered his face. He asked Zhao Qiaohong with a sobbing tone, "Why did you do this? This is your granddaughter, my child." Zhao Qiaohong was very panicked. "No, son, listen to me. I did it for your own good." She said she doesn't want to give birth anymore. It costs a lot of money to raise a girl. It's not easy for you to work. Zhou Xiaoping growled in a low voice, "Why can't I even raise a child? That's my child. Even if I have to eat rice and vegetables, I will raise her into an adult. If I really can't raise her, why did I get married and have children? If it was really that difficult, he could just eat and drink his fill. Why did he have to start a family? His wife was the one he loved. Whether the child was a boy or a girl, it was the product of him and his wife. She was a life. The policeman said, it was indeed abandoned. We need to detain him." Zhao Qiaohong was so scared that she burst into tears. She cried, "Son, save me, save me." She tugged at her son's sleeve, wanting him to save her. However, Zhou Xiaoping was also very disappointed with his mother. He felt that it would be good for her to be taught a lesson. If he still treated her with respect and filial piety without any emotions, his wife would definitely be disappointed in him. Moreover, the child had been found, so it shouldn't be too serious. Zhou Xiaoping did not say a word and let the police take away his panicked mother. Seeing her like this, he felt angry and pitiful. Why did he have to do such a thing? If he hadn't been meddlesome, how could there have been such a thing afterwards? Zhou Xiaoping had a splitting headache. He watched from the window as his mother was escorted into the police car. She kept looking in his direction, her face full of fear and helplessness. She was stuffed into the car by the police. This was really shameful. If this matter spread to the unit, he didn't know what kind of eyes his colleagues would use to look at him. What era was it now? There was still a female infanticide, and it happened in his own home. It was too shameful. Zhou Xiaoping called Ning Shu. He wanted to know which hospital the mother and daughter were in so that he could take care of them. The child was lost. He couldn't be at ease without seeing the child with his own eyes. His wife was still in confinement. Her face was very pale. There seemed to be something wrong with the child. Zhou Xiaoping was burning with anxiety. He wanted to fly to the hospital. However, the phone couldn't get through at all. The first time it got through, it was ruthlessly hung up. When he called again, it couldn't get through, or it was in the middle of a call. Although he didn't want to admit that his wife had blocked him, it was the truth. She didn't want to answer the phone and directly blocked him. There were so many hospitals. Where was he going to find them? He was angry with his wife. There was no way, although Zhao Qiaohong was his mother. Before the child was born, the family was harmonious. His mother didn't look like someone who would throw away the child. His wife was also a gentle person. Now both of them had taken a big turn. Zhou Xiaoping, who was in the middle, was very uncomfortable. Zhou Xiaoping's message to Ning Shu was like a stone thrown into the sea. There was no reply. Zhou Xiaoping had no choice but to ask the hospitals one by one. It wasn't that the overbearing CEO with a net worth of hundreds of billions had his secretary to help him. Ordinary people like Zhou Xiaoping could only look for them himself. Ning Shu went to the hospital and looked after the child. With the doctor's treatment, the child's condition was much better, but she still didn't wake up. Ning Shu asked the doctor to prescribe some medicine for her. Her lochia was too serious. It was so serious that she was going to have a hemorrhage. She planned to stay in the hospital for 10 days to half a month. As for the money, she had it in her bank card. In order to avoid Zhou Xiaoping reporting the loss of her bank card, she couldn't withdraw money. Ning Shu simply took out a lot of money and kept it with her until her body got better. She didn't want to save money for her family. Saving money was also saving money for her future woman. She should use it. Otherwise, when she left, she wouldn't have a good body. She would save money for them, but she would have nothing. Glancing at the message on the phone, Ning Shu casually threw the phone on the bed and picked up the child to feed her. Ning Shu, I'm so tired. I'll leave as soon as it's over. Breastfeeding will take several months. Moreover, it's full of milk. It's so damn shameful. Ning Shu went straight to the hospital for her postnatal confinement. She managed to regain consciousness. A few days later, Zhou Xiaoping also came looking for her. He looked exhausted and was covered in dirt. Zhou Xiaoping must have been very tired after running around for a few days. When he saw Ning Shu and her mother, he breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Why didn't you give me a message? I was very worried." He wanted to hold the child. Ning Shu took the lead and held the child, leaving Zhou Xiaoping empty. He took back his hand and didn't dare to be angry. He said, "I asked for leave from the company to take care of you." Ning Shu rolled her eyes. "Don't. You go to work. We'll feel better without you around. You're just making things difficult for me. When I see you, I think of your cold-hearted mother." I said, "Don't jump around in front of me. I'm unhappy when I see you. It affects my mood. If I'm in a bad mood, I might take the child to another hospital." After a few days of nutrition injections, Ning Shu's complexion was much better than before. She didn't pant when she spoke and ate well. Although the nutrition injections were a bit expensive, it was worth it. Zhou Xiaoping thought that she was still angry, so he didn't go against her. He said, "Mother has been detained." "Oh, is that so? That's normal. If every old woman did this, the society would be in chaos. There would be no ethics and morality. How can we build a harmonious society?" Especially Zhao Qiaohong's abandonment of the child was out of individualism and extreme selfishness. She was so old. It was fine if she wasn't loving, but she could still do such a thing. It was really intoxicating. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3876. Zhou Xiuping saw that his wife was ignoring him, so he could only tell her to take good care of her body. He would come over every day. Ning Shu was coaxing the child and didn't even look at him. Zhou Xiuping touched his nose awkwardly and could only leave. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. Without Zhou Xiuping in front of her, the air was much fresher. To say that Zhou Xiuping was an evil person, he wasn't. But sometimes, our lives were ruined by people like him. They also had their own difficulties and had no choice. However, this unavoidable hardship was shouldered by someone else. After all, in life, there weren't many evil people. Most of them were ordinary people. Zhou Xiuping walked out of the hospital. The sun shone on his body, making him feel cold and hot. Zhou Xiuping felt that he might be sick. Otherwise, why would his body be in such a situation? His phone rang. It was the police station, asking him to go over to handle something. Thinking of his mother, Zhao Qiaohong, Zhou Xiuping's face was full of helplessness. When he arrived at the police station, his old father was there. When the old couple saw Zhou Xiuping, they didn't ask their son to save his wife. Instead, they blamed themselves for not taking care of their wife. Making an old woman do such a thing and throw away her granddaughter, he said it with great sincerity. His muddy old eyes were filled with tears, and his body was hunched over. It made Zhou Xiuping's heart ache. This old father seemed to be a very reasonable person. He thought of his father raising him. At that time, the family's conditions weren't good, but his father insisted on him studying. When he entered society, his job was better. At least he didn't have to work hard. Sitting in a clean office with bright windows, he married the woman he loved. If his conditions weren't good, he might not have the life he had today. His mother was wrong, but his father still had to worry at his age. On one hand, there were his parents. On the other hand, there was his wife. His own small family tore Zhou Xiuping's heart in half. It was bloody. If he forgave his mother too easily, he wouldn't be able to get past his wife. Zhou Xiuping's father held his son's hand. His son's hand was trembling, and there were some age spots on the back of his hand. He was also quite skinny. In his impression, his stalwart father was already old. When your mother comes out, I will definitely take good care of her. Xiuping, can you forgive your mother this time? Zhou Xiuping couldn't refuse his father's pleas. He told the police that he forgave his mother and that everyone in the family had forgiven her. Moreover, she was already so old and had a child. She hoped that Zhao Qiaohong would not go to jail. As for the fine, they would accept it. Zhao Qiaohong was indeed old. The police had asked Zhou Xiuping to write a document. Moreover, the child had been found. If he really pursued her, it would be considered an attempted crime. Zhou Xiuping agreed and went to prepare the petition. He went to see Zhao Qiaohong, who was detained. When Zhao Qiaohong saw her son, she cried with snot and tears. She begged her son to save her. She didn't want to go to jail. She really knew that she was wrong. She was still in jail. Her life in jail would definitely be more difficult. She still had to go to jail when she was old. How could it be like this now? She didn't know how many people abandoned their children in the past, but nothing happened. How could it be so serious when it was her turn? It must be that her daughter-in-law Yin Ting was unwilling to forgive her. Thinking of spending the rest of her life in jail, Zhao Qiaohong was extremely terrified. It was really hateful and annoying. Zhou Xiuping was also giving face to her father. Otherwise, he really wanted to let Zhao Qiaohong know what fear was. Her crying made people upset and uncomfortable. Zhou Xiuping promised that he would take her out, but he was not allowed to interfere in their family's affairs in the future. In particular, he had to meet Yin Ting less. Yin Ting was now angry and even ignored him. It hurt the relationship between husband and wife. Hearing that there was hope to get out, he agreed to whatever his son said. The old father sighed and said to his son, "We are sorry to you. We are sorry to our daughter-in-law. She is still in the hospital. How is she? I will go and see her." Thinking of his wife's attitude now, Zhou Xiuping felt that their family should not provoke her. He refused his old father's visit and said, Let's talk about it later. Let her take good care of her body. His old father sighed and moaned, feeling resentful toward his wife for failing to live up to his expectations. Zhou Xiaoping took the petition everywhere to find people to sign. Generally, he found relatives and neighbors with whom he had a good relationship. Some people signed because of their feelings. However, there were some people who had signed the papers, but they still wanted to ridicule Zhou Xiaoping. Zhou Xiaoping's mother was in the wrong. No matter what, that child was still her granddaughter. What could Zhou Xiaoping do? He could only nod and listen. Besides that, what could he say? Could he defend his mother? No, this was the truth. There were already many signatures on the petition. In fact, these signatures were all miscellaneous people. The most important thing was the signature of the person involved. This was a signature with weight. With his wife's signature, this petition had weight and value. Zhou Xiaoping held the petition and paced around the door of the ward. He did not dare to go in because he could not open his mouth. He mentally prepared himself countless times before he pushed the door and went in. Ning Shu continued to ignore him. She already knew that he was loitering around the door for something. It was nothing more than the petition. He even knew how to be embarrassed. Zhou Xiaoping was not a bad person. He also had a conscience and a sense of shame. It was especially painful to be caught in the middle. However, it was not her. What did it have to do with her? Was the person who entrusted it not painful? Zhou Xiaoping looked at the child. Seeing that the child was white and tender and sleeping soundly, his face relaxed a little. During this period of time, he had been tense. He had to go to work and worry about Zhao Qiaohong. This was his daughter. His daughter that he had lost and found again. Ning Shu looked at him like a loving father and asked indifferently, "What's the matter? If there's nothing, you can leave. You're not in a good mood." Zhou Xiaoping looked away from his daughter and looked at Ning Shu. He said, "I came to look for you this time because I have something to discuss with you." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and said, "Oh." He asked casually, "What is it?" Zhou Xiaoping took out the petition from his document bag. He hesitated for a moment and handed it to Ning Shu. "Can you sign on it?" Ning Shu took the document and looked at it. He threw the paper away expressionlessly. "What the hell are you showing me? Do you want me to smash your head?" Zhou Xiaoping expected this reaction from her and was not disappointed. He begged Ning Shu in a low voice, "Yin Ting, please. She's my mother." Ning Shu said, "What does it have to do with me? She's not my mother. I'm still my daughter's mother." Zhou Xiaoping saw that she was not angry but faced it with an indifferent attitude. This made him feel very bad. If she was angry, it meant that she cared and cared about the direction of this matter. Because she cared, she was angry. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3877. But her attitude was nonchalant and cold. She wasn't even angry. That was the worst thing. She probably already had a plan for the worst. She had a plan to cut off all means of retreat. Zhou Xiaoping was panicking. He knew that he might face his wife's fierce opposition, but he didn't want to face such a calm and oppressive situation. He didn't even have time to think. He knelt down with a thud. The people passing by couldn't help but look inside and block the door. Ning Shu was still expressionless. "What are you doing? You're threatening me with kneeling down." It was said that men had gold under their knees. But in Ning Shu's plot, the thing he did the most was kneel down in front of Yin Ting. He rarely even knelt down to his parents, but in front of Yin Ting he knelt down without a word. It was probably because of this that his client didn't divorce him. In her most painful times, he was gentle and considerate. Zhou Xiaoping felt that everything he did was wrong. In her eyes, he was a person with bad intentions. Some people who were watching the show at the door were still saying, "Sister, a man is kneeling down in front of you. What's the big deal?" Some people even said that kneeling down in front of so many people was a big crime. "Sister, don't forgive him. Don't forgive him so easily." In short, it was noisy as if they were watching a show. Ning Shu flipped her hair and said, "Actually, it's not a big deal. It's just that my husband's mother values boys more than girls. I gave birth to a daughter, but she abandoned the child behind my back. Although the child was found, she still committed the crime of abandonment. Now, my husband is begging me to sign the petition to reduce my mother-in-law's crime. Let's see if you can still kneel down. The people around. Why did it feel like there was too much information? It was hard to take in. Those who understood were surprised. They looked at Zhou Xiaoping, who was kneeling on the ground, and didn't sympathize with him. Some people even said, "Sister, I support you. Don't sign the petition. How ruthless is she to abandon her child?" Zhou Xiaoping didn't expect his wife to say this in front of so many people. Now, he didn't know whether to kneel or get up. His knees felt as if there were many steel needles pricking them. It was very uncomfortable. Zhou Xiaoping stood up and closed the door, isolating the onlookers outside. He helplessly said to Ning Shu, "I know you're angry. You know that I'm angry, yet you still use this thing to anger me. You're trying to make me collapse from anger." Ning Shu snorted. "You can leave. I won't sign this." Zhou Xiaoping still wanted to say something, but Ning Shu put his index finger to his mouth and made a shushing gesture. He opened his mouth and said one word silently, "Get lost." Zhou Xiaoping had no choice. He didn't know what she would do if he forced her. He felt that his wife had been greatly affected by this incident and had become completely different from before. She had no scruples, and her actions were completely confusing. She was no longer as gentle as before. It was probably because she was a mother. Speaking of which, their family had wronged her. In the face of Ning Shu's bad attitude, Zhou Xiaoping chose to be tolerant. He even asked with concern, "Do you have enough money on you? Do you want me to bribe you?" "Okay, give me the money." Ning Shu didn't refuse at all. Zhou Xiaoping took out his phone and transferred a sum of money to Ning Shu in front of her. He told Ning Shu not to save money and to take good care of her body. Ning Shu casually nodded and said, "I know. I will definitely take good care of my own body." Zhou Xiaoping revealed a bitter smile and turned to leave the ward. There were still nosy people outside the ward in twos and threes. When they saw him come out, their eyes lit up like bugs and stared straight at him like spotlights. Some of them gathered together and whispered. It was obvious that they were talking about him. Zhou Xiaoping, after leaving the hospital, his body was infected with the cold air in the hospital. Under the sun, cold air came out from his bones. Coming out of the air-conditioned room, it was cold and hot. Zhou Xiaoping returned home and found his wife's handwriting. He planned to copy his wife's handwriting to sign the petition. This was also why he gave the money in the hospital so readily. Firstly, it was because he really felt sorry for the mother and daughter. Secondly, it was because he felt guilty. Zhou Xiaoping practiced for a long time before he could imitate her handwriting. When he signed the petition, he was very hesitant. If he signed it, his wife would definitely be very, very angry. Once he signed it, there would definitely be a crack in their relationship. After all, this matter was his mother's doing. But if he signed the petition, it would be his doing. He would be hurting Yin Ting with his own hands. Should he sign it? Zhou Xiaoping picked up the pen and put it down again. He was very conflicted. The phone rang. It was his old father, asking about the petition. Zhou Xiaoping's throat seemed to be blocked by a huge stone. He couldn't breathe and said with difficulty, "It's done. I'll send it to the police station immediately." After hanging up the phone, Zhou Xiaoping picked up the pen and took a deep breath. He still wrote Yin Ting's name on the petition. After writing it, Zhou Xiaoping's body seemed to have lost all strength. He slumped in the chair, his face a little pale. Then, he put the petition in a folder and took it to the police station. The police took the document and let Zhou Xiaoping pay the fine. They also warned that if there was a next time, there wouldn't be such a good result. Zhou Xiaoping nodded repeatedly and promised that there wouldn't be a next time. There definitely wouldn't be a next time. He wouldn't let her touch the child in the future. Fortunately, Yin Ting installed a GPS device on the child. She probably thought that the human traffickers were rampant now and wanted to avoid losing the child. But she didn't expect that it would come true for her mother. When Zhao Qiaoheng heard that she could go out, she saw her son and husband coming to pick her up. The moment she came out, she hugged her son and cried. In just a few days, Zhao Qiaohong looked even older. She looked panicked. She was probably frightened. Zhao Qiaohong cried as she went home. She asked her son timidly, "Why don't I go and apologize to Ting Ting?" Don't go. Don't go. If you go, you don't know what will happen." Yin Ting was still angry. Even if you go and apologize, it would be useless. Moreover, she didn't even sign the petition. If she knew about it, she would definitely explode. It was better to take it slow and wait for time to pass. Zhou Xiaoping had a headache. "Don't bother about our matters in the future. Whether it's a girl or a boy, they are all my children. You seem to be doing it out of kindness. You suffered, the child also suffered. Why do you have to do it?" Zhao Qiaohong was a little unconvinced, but her husband grabbed her and warned her not to say anything. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3878. After leaving her son's house, Zhao Qiaohong complained tearfully to her husband, "I raised him until he was so big. I did that for his own good. Why can't I care about him?" She was very disappointed. The son who used to rely on her, she also took care of her son's life. Now, she didn't want him anymore. She felt sad that she had been abandoned. Zhou Dongnan warned her, "If you continue to be a demon, don't say that our son doesn't care about you. I can't be bothered to care about you either. I'm already so old, but you've lost all my face, old thing." Now, all the neighbors and relatives knew that their family was a vicious family. They couldn't even tolerate a granddaughter. It wasn't like before. They couldn't afford to raise a child and threw it away. It was really embarrassing. Zhao Qiaohong saw that her husband was so angry that his face turned green. She quickly begged for mercy. "I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. Don't be angry. My blood pressure will go up later." Ning Shu lived a godly life in the hospital. Sometimes, when he was really busy and needed someone to help him, he hired a female nurse in her 40s. She helped to bathe the child and change the diapers. The doctor told Ning Shu that there were no problems with the mother and daughter and that they could be discharged. Ning Shu felt that he still had problems and wanted to stay in the hospital for a while. The doctor joked that Ning Shu was going to stay in the hospital for the rest of the month. After the hospital's nurses, patients, and bed attendants gossiped, almost everyone knew that his mother-in-law threw the child away because the child was a granddaughter. He more or less received sympathetic looks in the hospital. Some people even came to comfort Ning Shu. Some people said that raising a daughter was more considerate than raising a son. He received some food and necessities. Ning Shu accepted them and said thank you. The others looked at Ning Shu with even more sympathy. What a good daughter-in-law. What kind of family did she come from? How could she do such a wicked thing? Before they even met, Zhao Qiaohong was already a popular person in the hospital. Zhou Xiaoping came to the hospital with a nervous heart. No matter where he went, he was looked at with strange eyes. This feeling was really uncomfortable. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Dirty linen shouldn't be aired in public, but she made it known to everyone in the hospital. Even the guards at the entrance of the hospital probably knew about it. Zhou Xiaoping calmed himself down. No matter what, their family had wronged Yin Ting and their daughter. It was only right for her to be angry. He deserved to be punished for his wrongdoings. Zhou Xiaoping walked into the ward and saw his wife holding the child. Such a warm scene made Zhou Xiaoping's heart calm down. He walked in with light steps. Ning Shu glanced at him and then focused on the child. Zhou Xiaoping stood aside as if he was being punished. His attitude was good. When Ning Shu carried him, he immediately took the child. With a smile on his face, he gently coaxed the child. After a while, Zhou Xiaoping asked, "Are you going to be discharged from the hospital?" Ning Shu counted with her fingers how long it would take for her to finish her confinement and said, "There's still a week left." Zhou Xiaoping agreed, Okay. Seeing that his wife was willing to pay attention to him, Zhou Xiaoping was so happy that he didn't know what to do. "Is there anything you want to eat? I'll buy it when we get back. I'll hire a part-time worker to clean the house and make it clean." Ning Shu responded with a lukewarm, "Oh," but Zhou Xiaoping felt relieved as if a 1,000-pound boulder had been removed. After that, No matter how late Zhou Xiaoping got off work, he would come to the hospital to see his wife and daughter. Ning Shu was indifferent to his behavior and let him do whatever he wanted. The more he did, the more disappointed he would be. When Ning Shu was discharged from the hospital, Zhou Xiaoping specially asked for leave to drive over to pick her up. Ning Shu was discharged from the hospital with the relaxed body. The lochia on her body was also gone. She felt refreshed and energized to face the future. Although she was in the hospital, Ning Shu was different from other patients. Others more or less had a sickly complexion, but Ning Shu was different. She was well nourished in the hospital. It was as if she had come out of a beauty salon. When Zhou Xiaoping saw his wife like this, he felt that she had probably thought it through and wouldn't dwell on such things. Even if he said it out loud, his wife might be angry, but it would pass. When they returned home, the house was filled with the fragrance of food and the table was full of food. Zhou Dongnan, who was sitting on the sofa, saw his daughter-in-law and stood up. "You're back." Zhao Qiaohong came out of the kitchen with a plate and placed it on the table. She nervously wiped her hands on her apron and carefully called out, "Ting Ting." Ning Shu was expressionless. "Why are you here? Shouldn't you be in the detention center? Shouldn't people who committed crimes be punished?" Zhao Qiaohong quickly said, "Ting Ting, don't be angry. Your father-in-law and I will leave soon. We just came to make something for you so that you don't have to cook when you're discharged." Ning Shu said, "You're asking why you're here and not in the detention center?" Zhou Xiaoping said, "Ting Ting, I forgot to tell you about this. Mom is old and the police think that the child has been found." Ning Shu narrowed her eyes and suddenly remembered. "It's that petition, right? I didn't sign it. I'm the party involved. How could she let me out?" Zhou Xiaoping opened his mouth. I signed it for you." Ning Shu, "Oh, huh." During the divorce, the chances of fighting for the child were greater. There was a grandmother who threw away the child and a father who forged documents. Of course, there was also the father who had an affair. If there were no accidents, the child would definitely be with her. Of course, the divorce also needed the help of the client's family. After the client got divorced, Zhao Qiaohong told the public that Yin Ting, the daughter-in-law, couldn't have children, so they got divorced. What they did was completely glossed over, causing the client's parents to think that the divorce was because of their daughter. Even if the child was lost, the client didn't tell her family the reason for Ji Yi's disappearance. She only said that the child was lost and the child was missing. The client's parents had no choice but to ask their daughter and son-in-law to work harder and see if they could have children. Even if they found out the truth about the child's disappearance and made a fuss, it was over. What else could they do? Ask their son-in-law and daughter to divorce? The daughter was old and the son-in-law had always cared for her. Zhou Xiaoping looked at Ning Shu nervously. He was afraid that this was the calm before the storm and that there would be a storm soon. Ning Shu, of course, wanted to make a fuss. He was furious and shouted with a ferocious expression, "Divorce, divorce, you're a family of liars. One of you threw away the child and the other signed the petition behind my back. You're all evil. Divorce." Zhou Xiaoping's eyes were red and seemed to be tearing up. He knelt in front of Ning Shu. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Please don't divorce, okay?" What a chicken. To watch the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3879. When Zhao Qiaohong saw her son kneel down in front of her daughter-in-law, she was extremely unhappy. She looked at Ning Shu with a look of condemnation. She felt sour in her heart. She had raised her son with great difficulty and loved him well. She could never bear for him to be wronged, but now he was kneeling down in front of a woman. She couldn't bear for her son to kneel. Zhao Qiaohong was furious. She also knelt down in front of Ning Shu. "Let's see if you can take it. Let's see what others will say about you in the future." The mother-in-law knelt down in front of her daughter-in-law. "Ting Ting, this is all my fault. It has nothing to do with Xiaoping. Don't blame Xiaoping because of me and affect the relationship between you two." Zhao Qiaohong said reasonably, as if she was suffering for the sake of her child and daughter-in-law. Ning Shu stood still and endured her husband and mother-in-law's kneeling. Kneeling was fine. She should kneel and admit her mistake for what she had done. Moreover, kneeling was obviously to roast her. It looked like she was suffering, but in fact, it was a threat. It was also for her son to see. She kept saying that it was for her son and daughter-in-law's relationship. Wasn't she trying to sow discord? Ning Shu hugged the child and ignored the two of them. She coaxed the child in her arms and mumbled to the child, "So cute. Mommy almost lost you. In the future, you will be Mommy's precious baby." Ning Shu carried the child into the bedroom and closed the door with a bang. She directly isolated the situation outside and ignored the big show outside. The mother and son kneeling on the ground were really embarrassed at this moment. In the end, the other party didn't pay attention to them at all. Now they were in a dilemma. Without the main character, this show couldn't go on. Zhou Xiaoping felt that he couldn't see through his wife anymore. Even if she made a big fuss, it was within his expectations. However, this situation was completely out of Zhou Xiaoping's expectations. He didn't know how to solve it. Zhou Xiaoping felt that he was being ignored. His wife didn't pay attention to him at all and didn't want to communicate. This matter would continue to drag on between the two of them. He had never felt it. He had always had a knot in his heart. Zhou Xiaoping got up. His knees hurt a little. Seeing that Zhao Qiaohong was still kneeling, he helped her up. Zhao Qiaohong was embarrassed. She couldn't help but complain, "Didn't we find the child? What's the point of her pursuing the matter endlessly? That's not how you live your life." Zhou Xiaoping coldly called his mother. Zhou Dongxi scolded his wife, "Shut up and stop talking. It's your fault that your daughter-in-law hasn't forgiven you. Who are you to criticize your daughter-in-law?" Zhao Qiaohong was humiliated in front of the whole family. Her husband and son treated her like this. Both of them were fierce to her. Zhao Qiaohong felt so wrong that she wanted to cry. "I've worked so hard for this family for so many years. I've worked so hard for you too. I've taken care of all your needs. Now I'm just hot-headed and did something. I'm a big bad person. Both of you are giving me a hard time." Zhao Qiaohong's voice was very loud. From time to time, she would look at the closed bedroom door from the corner of her eyes. Ning Shu heard these words in the bedroom. He rolled his eyes and ignored the situation outside. As long as they didn't live in harmony and happiness, it was fine. As for how they quarreled, Ning Shu would treat it as a show. If someone was willing to put on a show for her, she would be happy to support them. Zhou Xiaoping didn't say a word. His expression was very ugly. Seeing his son's situation, Zhou Dongxi dragged his wife away. At this time, the husband and wife's matter should be solved by themselves. Moreover, with Zhao Qiaohong, the culprit here, things would only become worse. Zhao Qiaohong should be secretly happy that she could come out. At this time, if she still wanted to be caught in the middle, it would only make her son fly into a rage. If she didn't want to lose her son, it was best not to provoke him. Moreover, her daughter-in-law probably wanted to kill her in her heart. If she still jumped up and down and made her crazy, she would be the unlucky one. Sigh. Speaking of which, this old woman had suffered for most of her life. She probably felt that the bitter days were over and she had a daughter-in-law again. She felt that she could find some sense of superiority from her daughter-in-law. Usually, Zhou Dongxi rarely cared about the family's matters. When he had nothing to do, he would find his old friend to drink tea and play chess. If the old woman was willing to worry about something, he would let her worry about it. He didn't expect that his inaction would cause such a big trouble. Zhou Dongxi frowned a little irritably. He felt that this matter wouldn't be over so easily. He didn't know what would happen next. It was all this old woman's fault. She ate too much and couldn't enjoy herself when she was old. She didn't want to take care of the child, so she threw the child away. Her son and daughter-in-law didn't insist that she take care of their child. How much did it cost to raise a daughter? Zhou Dongxi thought about it and felt that his blood pressure was going to rise. He was used to living a peaceful life and just wanted to live a peaceful and stable life. After the two old people left, the house became much emptier. Zhou Xiaoping sat in the living room while Ning Shu changed the child's diapers in the bedroom. He hammered his old waist. After bending for a while, he felt that his waist was going to break. He probably wouldn't be able to carry this child in the future. What should he do? Zhou Xiaoping knocked on the door and said, "Ting Ting, come out and eat something. The dishes are cold." He thought that he would be ignored, but the door opened. Zhou Xiaoping looked into the room and saw that the child was asleep in the crib. Ning Shu sat down, picked up the bowl, and started eating. It would be a waste not to eat such a big table of dishes. As for the person who cooked, it had nothing to do with whether she ate or not. She would not eat just because the person who cooked was Zhao Qiaohong. Zhou Xiaoping sat opposite Ning Shu and put food into Ning Shu's bowl. More. You've lost weight. This was pure nonsense. Ning Shu had definitely gained weight during this period of time. As for losing weight, Zhou Xiaoping had definitely lost weight. His complexion didn't look good, as if he had stayed up for a few nights. His face was very gloomy and he didn't look energetic. During this period of time, the person who was under the most pressure was definitely Zhou Xiaoping. Ning Shu just ate and didn't talk to Zhou Xiaoping. He was too lazy to talk, and there was nothing to talk about. He was just a stranger. However, Zhou Xiaoping felt that his wife was probably going to carry out the silent treatment until the end. This was really not conducive to solving things. Some things were piled up, and if they weren't solved, they wouldn't be over. He didn't know if the divorce was real or fake, or if it was just words out of anger. Her behavior really made Zhou Xiaoping feel uneasy. After experiencing suffering, one should cherish a good life even more, and not keep the suffering in one's heart, torturing oneself and others. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. Chapter 3880. It was precisely because of suffering that happiness was so precious. His wife had been obsessed with this matter, which was not a good thing for herself or for the family. It made the family shrouded in gloom. Ting Ting. Zhou Xiaoping's expression was bitter and hateful. Ning Shu immediately interrupted him. "I just want to eat. Don't affect my appetite. I don't want to talk about things at the dinner table." Zhou Xiaoping could not continue. He could only eat with Ning Shu. He kept putting food into her bowl, which made Ning Shu angry. "What's wrong with you? It's not like I can't take food. You keep putting food into my bowl. I keep eating what you put in my bowl. I can't even eat what I want to eat." "Zhou Xiaoping, what do you want me to do?" What could he do? He could only nod and say yes. He wanted her to vent. If she was not so angry, it would be easier to talk. After that, Zhou Xiaoping went to talk to Ning Shu again and again. Ning Shu did not pay much attention to him. He was either coaxing the child or bathing the child. After folding the baby's clothes, he could not find a suitable time to talk to her. Ning Shu was annoyed to see him hovering in front of her. "Don't hover in front of me. After such a big thing happened, you still don't allow me to be a little emotional. Go away." Zhou Xiaoping revealed a smile. It was a smile of relief. "Yes, you should be angry. You should vent your anger on me. You should." Ning Shu snorted. She was still cold and indifferent. Zhou Xiaoping thought this matter was over. He went to work diligently every day. After work, he came home early to help with the housework. Whether it was changing diapers or bathing the child, he was very nimble. He could be considered a diligent man. However, when Zhou Xiaoping wanted to be intimate, he was heartlessly rejected by Ning Shu with an extremely cold attitude. Not in the mood. Zhou Xiaoping naturally wouldn't force his wife. What could he do? He could only hold it in. He looked very pitiful. Of course, Ning Shu also had a reason to refuse. "Your mother came again today and asked me when I was going to have another child. She gave me an old hen, saying that it's good for my health. She asked me to have another child." Zhao Qiaohong probably had a busy life. She liked to worry about her family and home. Even if she risked being hated by others, she still had to worry. Although the child had been found, she still despised the fact that the child was a girl. If she despised the child, so be it. It wasn't a big deal, but now she had to give birth to another child. To be honest, this mother-in-law was really annoying. Zhou Xiaoping's face turned ugly. He couldn't defend his mother. They couldn't be intimate. It was Ning Shu's fault. However, with these words, Zhou Xiaoping was short of breath. No matter what Zhao Qiaohong did, Zhou Xiaoping had to bear all the responsibility. You are her son. Zhou Xiaoping had a big headache. He really couldn't understand. He felt that his mother was trying to break up this family. His wife was still angry and she was fanning the flames. She was trying to burn him to death. Zhou Xiaoping had always been submissive. He was considerate of his wife and child. Although it was right, he still had to face difficulties and cold faces. There were also people who were dragging him down. It was inevitable that he would be angry. He felt tired and that it wasn't worth it. Zhou Xiaoping directly got up from the bed, put on his clothes and went out. As for why he went out in the middle of the night, who cares? He probably went to his parents' house. Ning Shu was very happy. Such a big bed was occupied by her alone. It was strange that such a man was sleeping next to her. As for what he wanted to say to his parents and make a fuss about it, who cared? Zhou Xiaoping came to his father's house in the middle of the night. He only had one sentence to say to his old father. Dad, look after your wife. She will only be satisfied when my family is broken up. Didn't you say that you don't care about Yin Ting's matter? Why did she go to Yin Ting's ear and say something about having another child? The child is only 1 month old now. We can't take care of him. Every night we take turns to take care of him. We are so tired. If we have another child, we will be exhausted. Zhao Qiaohong was originally happy that her son was back. Usually, there was only her and her husband at home. It was inevitable that she would feel lonely. Sometimes, when she talked to her husband, he would ignore her or go out to play with other old men. Since this happened, she was like a sinner. The most she heard every day was their scolding. Today, her son came to her house in the middle of the night to scold her. Zhao Qiaohong was a bit desperate. She sneered and said, If you have anything to say, say it now. I will listen to it. Otherwise, you will nag me every day. Everything I do is wrong. I just dislike her because she is a girl. What's wrong? I just don't like her. I will never like her in this life. Zhou Xiaoping was speechless. Such a straightforward attitude made Zhou Xiaoping speechless. I just want her to have another son to carry on the Zhou family's ancestral line. What's wrong with that? There are 3 ways to be unfilial. Having no descendants is the worst. A girl is not a descendant. If a woman doesn't have a son, what will she do when she is old? She will be laughed at and bullied by others. She won't even have a family member. Zhao Qiaohong said more and more confidently, as if she was venting the grievances in her heart. Zhou Xiaoping was completely speechless. He couldn't even refute. It could only be said that their views were different. When they communicated, no one could convince the other. His mother's thinking was probably still in the farming era. When there was no mechanization, many people were needed to do things. Men were strong and had more responsibilities. Coupled with the long-standing bad habits, she naturally favored men. But now it was an era of intelligence. There was no requirement for strength. The problem of views couldn't be changed, and there was no way to reconcile. Zhou Xiaoping was a little desperate. This contradiction was irreconcilable. He couldn't say anything about his mother. It was his mother who brought him up, took care of him, and grew up clean. He also remembered that his mother didn't treat his sister very well. Instead, his sister did all the housework. Sometimes he wanted to help, but he was called away by his mother to do homework. He gave her the food first. He didn't think much of it before, but now Zhou Xiaoping felt that it was retribution. Now that he had a daughter, he suffered more malice and disgust from his mother than his sister. His sister was a piece of flesh that fell from his mother's body. No matter how much he disliked her, she was still his daughter. But his daughter was a piece of flesh that fell from another woman's body. He didn't need to feel any heartache. Views determined behavior. Zhao Qiaohong didn't feel that she had done anything wrong. If throwing a child was a mistake, then many people had thrown their children away. Even if she had committed a heinous crime, there were many people who had committed the same heinous crime as her. To view the new chapter of Zue, please go to mobile address. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.